Nobody wants to do it. That was really odd. Thanks for being here.
All right, we've got our chair. Whenever you're ready, Chair.
Oh, that's cool. All right, good afternoon. Welcome to the February 17th meeting of the Board of Directors for the California Choice Energy Authority. Madam Secretary, please take roll call.
Apple Valley,
Present.
Palmdale. Here. Pico Rivera,
Present.
Pico Rivera,
Present. Present.
Can we accept his two fingers as a here? Yes.
yeah.
Recognize.
I could hear him. Can you hear me?
Oh, Allison.
Allison.
Can't hear Allison either. One
Oh,
moment.
Test, test, test. Can you hear us?
Pomona,
Present.
Rancho Mirage,
Present.
San Jacinto,
Present.
Santa Barbara,
Present.
Lancaster.
Present.
We have a quorum. And we're going to get our audio working for remote participants.
All right, this time we could start with the flag salute. Guy, would you mind doing the honors?
I can hear you.
Put your right hand to your heart, repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag,
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At this time, I want to entertain any board comments or announcements. Anyone want to go first? Anyone?
Chair, can we check to make sure we can hear Pico Rivera and Allison real quick? Pico Rivera, can you test your mic again?
Test, test, test. Can you hear us?
Okay, Allison.
Test, test. Can you hear me?
Okay, just a minute.
Okay, give a minute.
Allison, can we continue?
You can, if you can hear us.
We can't hear her.
Okay, we're standing by.
It's in their chambers. I have it unmuted just in case. Good jokes.
Pico Rivera, can you hear me?
Hear you.
Okay. So something's wrong with their audio input at the city.
Maybe that's a good sign. We can't hear either of them.
Testing?
Test, Pico Rivera.
Allison.
Yes.
Yeah, she is. All right, Pico.
Test.
Yes, we hear you. We can take
I
a
am
look.
getting an echo. I don't know if anyone else is.
Feel like I'm doing karaoke.
Recording in progress.
Let's go. All right, so
No, we can't hear you.
I think Wrench Mirage is muted.
Yeah.
can you guys hear us?
We
Now I
can't. We could for a moment, but then you guys muted again.
But we're good now.
So Allison and Pico Rivera tried muting yourselves.
Echo, that's cool. Like we're doing karaoke.
I think that's where the reverb is coming from.
Yeah, just feedback.
Okay, no, still.
For a cool meeting. All right, we'll move on to presentations. First presentation is Beth Vaughn from CalCCA. Don't be. It's like karaoke.
This could be like a really good thing that I get hooked on. Just. Okay, do you want to share the slide? Well, while she's figuring it out, I'll just mention that you have a couple of things in front of you that I brought, and for folks remote, we'll provide links for you. But I brought with me the fiscal report, annual report from last year. So we presented to our board in September at our September board retreat. And then also, you've got a folder there in front. And exactly, keep stepping back at it, isn't it different? This is 2 weeks ago, we had our lobby day in Sacramento. And this is what we provided for all of our participants. I think in that annual report, have a look, Kathy, but I think on page 16 is a picture from last year of lobby day. So we usually have like a great turnout, excellent meetings, but these were the materials that we had. And I just thought at your leisure, you can have a look, but there's background information that we give all of our members in order to be able to talk about all of these things, that. But in particular, there's two things I'll draw to your attention that I usually hand out. One is the map, which gets updated every January. After the implementation plans are filed at the CPUC. And so you can see here, I'll speak to it in the slide presentation, but all the orange are the new communities where we're launching, and on the back are all the cool stats. So more than 21 gigawatts of renewable clean energy and storage in aggregate that CCAs have now procured, which is huge. That's more than utilities. So we are forced to be reckoned with. The second one I want to refer to, and again, it's already out of date, is affordability solutions. So when we were in lobbying, we were lobbying two things in particular as CalCCA. One was a bill to do with data transparency regarding the power charge and difference adjustment. And the second one on that is resource adequacy, obligation, and transactability, something we've worked on for a few years. So this is the easy to read version. We're going to be updating those because we have two bills and two authors now. So I'll speak to that. But there you go, some reading, which means I can go because I think you have quite a few things on the agenda. You know, tech is always the toughest thing. It always is. Well, and I think that she's also progressing the slides. So while we're waiting, you can gaze at the first slide. Well, sorry, go back one. That's the board of CalCCA. That photo was taken at the conference last year in Irvine, and you see Kathy DeFalco peeking out there representing CalChoice. And we're just missing Jeff Cyphers from Sonoma Clean Power. He was sick that day, but that is the current board. So 16 board members representing 24 community choice aggregators. The only one that's not part of CalCCA is King City, and it's just very small and it's a different model. Okay, I'm ready, Barbara, if you are. It sounds like this has been resolved. Okay, so I just wanted to mention there's many ways that you can look at CCAs by the numbers. And I mentioned on the handout, you'll see there's all sorts of different ways we talk about it. When we go up to the legislature, though, they'd like to see the percentage of counties, percentage of cities. And one really cool stat that caught their eyes is that CCAs are now in 93 of the 120 legislative districts. So it's kind of a big deal, and it's nonpartisan, right? It's in both Democratic and Republican areas of California. So it really is something. Can you move on to the next one, please? As I mentioned, and you've got that map there. This also has the timeline. So as you can see, the last CCA to launch was Epic, Palmdale, in October of 2022. But that doesn't mean that we don't stop, that we stop growing. And so as I mentioned, you see there in yellow are the communities, and they're mostly up in Northern California, although there are many cities down in CPA's, your friend north of you, CPA's territory, some more cities. So these are folks that are launching and beginning to serve in both 2026 and 2027. So if you go to the next slide, what that means, and I always like showing this pie chart because there's different ways you can talk about what does it mean? What's the percentage in the IOU territory where we're allowed to form? What is it in the ISO? For instance, we schedule 1/3 of the load into the independent system operator now. Again, that's a big deal in aggregate. But here, what you see is it says the source is the 2025 IPER forecast. So that's the California Energy Commission. It's a proceeding that they do. In January 18th or 19th, I want to say, they finally approved the forecast. So although it says 2025, it's done in 2026. And do you see our slice of the pie, 27%? Last year, that was 24%. So again, we are incrementally growing in our numbers and in the weight that we bring to the public policy arena, and also the procurement that we do and the programs that we roll out. Next slide, please. Okay, so how many of you have been to like a CalCCA conference? Okay, then I'm not going to go a whole lot into the role of CalCCA. Happy to answer questions, but really it comes down to educate and advocate. So back in the early days, it was really about educating about who we are. We're playing defense a lot. Now we're very proactive out there. So there we talk about kind of what our role is, but the big part of what CalCCA does is we speak with a unified voice. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. This is fun. Maybe the next slide. This one you're going to actually need to see. So I'm going to pause because I can't have that up there for you to. This one's complicated.
What's happening here? Oh, sorry.
Can we?
Apologies.
Okay. So think about CalCCA. The board members that created CalCCA saw a benefit in cost sharing of services. And particularly where we were getting nailed was in the policy arena. So think the regulatory agencies and the legislature. Nobody wanted CCAs to form. We were the disruptor. If any of you remember back to those days, 2018, where the CPUC came out with the retail choice green book that they called it, that was really aimed to defeat us. So what we have here is CalCCA is the policy organization. We have sister organizations, the California Community Choice Financing Authority, which does similarly to what CalChoice does, which is joint procurement. And there is also another body, CC Power, which is a group of CCAs that do joint procurement. So we have multiples, but CalCCA is the policy entity. How we do this, as you can see, there are the 16 board members on the left in the green bubble. Then we have the executive committee. There are 7 members of the executive committee plus the past chair. So in this case, right now it's San Jose Clean Energy, so that makes 8, but they don't have a vote. So that makes up the board of directors. Then the membership, like I said, 24 for affiliates. And there we have 86 partners. So some of our partners are sitting in the room here that are very much a part of the family and have helped and continue to help CCAs. There's myself, and then I divide up my group into the experience team and the policy team. And it's basically the areas of policy, communication, and membership. Those are kind of the three tiers, or the 3 legs of the stool. Okay, so how do we get our work done? Basically, as you see under policy, which is what the majority of my staff is, I have a data team, the regulatory team, legislative team, and legal is part of regulatory. And CalCCA itself, we have a SharePoint that we run that has in any one day, over 700 people touch that SharePoint. We have there, I don't know, maybe 11 staff committees. My team will chair half of those. The other half are chaired by CCA staff members. The regulatory legislative committees have a reporting function to recommend to the board for actions. We also have discussion groups. I'm just going to pick one. Human resources discussion group came to us and said, we're all competing against each other. Is there a way that we can coordinate? I guess actually maybe my staff is actually chairing that now that Martha is back. But the board came and said, what about a compensation database? So all of those that participate in that, my data team created a compensation database, took all the information of all the different job descriptions, cross-reference, because you call different positions different things. And once a year, we update that with data. So these are little like side activities, but it's because of this cost sharing, right? Folks getting together. It's the collaborative nature of public power. Where the real work is done is on the far right, which is the Tiger teams. Up there, it says 21 Tiger teams. I think this is probably a December PowerPoint. We refresh every year. The regulatory directors get together in December. We refresh our Tiger teams ledge. Once the legislative session happens and bills are introduced, we refresh our Tiger teams there. What are Tiger teams? They are working groups, but they like to be called Tigers. I don't know. Kathy, can you help me out there? And that's where the subject matter experts. So if you think of committees, like our regulatory committee meets for 2 hours every Tuesday afternoon, but the work is done down in the Tiger teams where they might be working on resource adequacy. Or Friday afternoons is the PCIA Tiger team. And it could have people from ledge, from reg, from procurement in particular, because we want the subject matter experts who are down on the ground implementing. Anyways, I can go on about that, but let's go to the next slide. And maybe I'm going to skip now pretty quickly through the rest. What I want to say is I am staying here. 2 things. One is I will stay for dinner, and I'm happy to answer any questions there, go deep if you want. And then the other thing, Leora Vestal, who's our Chief Experience Officer, has offered to do a CalCCA 101 for anybody, any of your staff, any of you, to onboard you into our SharePoint, make sure you have access to InfoHub. In particular, we have a multitude of materials, recordings, green bag webinars, any topic that you want, but make sure that you all have access. And if you want to attend any of those committees, you're welcome. Okay, this is the infamous bubble slide. In the annual report, I think we used hives. Okay, how do we even explain this? What we do to try and talk with our board is, this is like our policy universe. This policy universe represents more than 65 legal proceedings that we are in. So at the Public Utilities Commission, which you see in blue and green, orange is the independent system operator, the CalISO. The CEC is in gray. We have things like CARB scoping plan that I'm pulling out there. I'm going to be taking that to our board to discuss that. What we do is twice a year, we go to the board and we talk about this at the board retreat and also when we do our budget. Back when I started in 2017, we only did the PCIA bubble and financial security requirement, FSR. That was it. And this has been built very deliberately by the board. Like take rates, for example. That was back in 2021, August of 2021, when we were realizing that we were having a hard time influencing the inputs into the power charge and difference adjustment. So we set up in PG&E's territories, Edison territory, and SDG&E, the CCAs. I hired a rate case manager who coordinates with all of the CCAs in each of those areas. We got y'all to hire the same consultants, both legal and technical, and we coordinate throughout all of that. We do the general rate case as well. So we're watching, I mean, basically, folks, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. That's it. And it's death by 1,000 cuts. So, you know, again, first we went in reactive, and now we're very proactive. So again, I'm happy to talk about that in more detail, but if we could go to the next slide. Member cost savings. So again, we do this with the board twice a year, and it's a little different slide than this. This is our public facing slide. What we do with the board is we have like a seesaw of wins and losses, and we actually quantify. So we go in and we look at, in particular, avoided costs by decreasing the planning reserve margin by 1.5%, knowing the CCA portion is just over a third, 36%. We can do a calculation based on the market price benchmark, and we can figure out that, let's take Aliso Canyon, no new procurement orders. That was a $242 million savings for our CCAs collectively. So we're able to do that and quantify. There's others that are qualitative because they're process related, like in the bottom there. The central procurement entity, that's the local resource adequacy CPE, gets kind of technical, but they were going out, they were told to go and procure for you. They did. They're short. They tell you that. You go out to procure to make up the difference. Oh, but then they were out there entering the market as well. And now you're double procuring. Now it's a double cost to the customer, right? So the big thing overlying all of this is affordability. So how can we actually find, not just move lines around, but actually decrease the pie? So again, happy to go into that in more detail. We update this twice a year and we go through it in a lot of detail. Board retreat, and then again now as I'm preparing the budget in March and April, we'll be looking at our seesaws. Yeah, and it might be different in each of the different IOU territories as well. I want to keep moving. Time. Can you go to the next one? Okay, again, key policy issues. I'm not going to go into detail. Happy to talk about it later. You can see a whole host of things up here. Power charge and difference adjustment just screams at us. Back in the cost savings slide before that, we kept out of track 1 last year, redoing the RPS market price benchmark, and that was actually probably a savings to us. But you know that the RA market price benchmark was changed. Now we're in track 2, which doesn't really impact Edison CCAs. has to do with pre-2019 banked recs. No, I'm boring you now. But then in September, we'll probably head into track 3. And that's something we've been working on for quite a while, which is the big question of how can we just bring the thing to an end, right? How can we actually get out of the power charge and difference adjustment? Again, I'm happy to answer questions about that because I've had a look at the contracts that you have here in Edison Space. And some of them are legacy contracts that have no end date. No end date. They're called evergreens. Okay, proactive just on the bottom there. Again, we could talk through all of this. And again, some of this is specific to areas like load growth. Some of our CCAs are seeing a requirement to procure a lot because of the idea that data centers are coming, but without maybe the real evidence that they're really coming. But proactive there under legislation, I'd mentioned the PCIA. So we are starting with a data transparency bill. Again, it's in the affordability solutions in that packet. We have an author. It is Chris Rogers, and it was introduced last week. It's Assembly Bill 1761. We start off gently with data. It is a vehicle, though, as we're going through this PCIA proceeding. And the great thing about Chris is he was formerly on the Sonoma Clean Power CCA board for 5 years. So he gets the PCIA, which is a very difficult thing to explain to people. Next week, we are going to be doing a roundtable with legislative staff up in Sacramento, just as we did on resource adequacy, where we're doing a learning education session with folks. RA transactability bill, the flip side of that handout. In case you don't know what that is, go to our website. You can learn all about it. But this is about an ability to trade obligations. The simple thing to say is you're sitting in Rancho Mirage. Your peak, right? The compliance for resource adequacy now is 24/7. Your peak is going to be different than, say, San Francisco on the coast, cool, or even San Diego. Different peaks, different days, but you are required at the moment. You have while you have an hourly obligation, it's done on a monthly basis. So you have to buy an entire resource for all of those 24 hours, day procurement. And if you could swap those obligations, we've calculated that it would actually reduce last year, based on last year's stats, that we could have reduced cost of RA $180 million, which again, it sounds small, but you start parsing it out and it means something. Okay, there's a whole lot of other things up there. I know that Kathy might cover some of them, but we do hear the potential lifting of the direct access cap again. Diablo Canyon extension, watch this space. Friday is the last day for bill introductions. We hear that's coming. And, you know, it's an interesting one for our board. We've been trying to grapple and become more educated so we're not caught flat-footed. On the one hand, you know, no nuke policies and all of that. On the other hand, if there was the extension, just imagine taking that 2,000 megawatts out of the integrated resource planning. And now you don't have to go procure for that. Those are real dollars. But if you were to have an extension, we'd certainly want all the attributes, because right now you're paying for that extension, right, under the last bill. All right, next slide. I'm going to wind up here. I'll just say people ask me, and you can look at this afterwards, but they say to me, where are we in 2026? And this is just a summary of my thoughts, is I feel like the CCA community, our family, we share the same core goals. I'd say affordability's gone right to the top. It used to be decarbonization for some folks. It used to be affordability for others. During the September 6th of 2022, it was all about reliability at any cost. You guys remember that with blackouts? I would say that each CCA, as it's been maturing, prioritizes those goals differently. And you can see some of the qualifiers I put on there. And then what it looks like in practice, I'm seeing different procurement strategies, different financial strategies dealing with the PCIA increase this past year. Unique program design. But my bottom line is that I believe you all are still aligned on purpose, tailored execution, and stronger together. Next slide. And there's just a slide to show you some of the examples of local CCA priorities. And I challenge all of you to tell me what I should put up there for each of your cities, each of your CCAs, right? What would you, what would you say for your community is the number one priority? And I'm just going to mention Clean Power Alliance again, your friendly neighbor to the north in LA County. We will see this week an introduction of a bill to enable CCAs to finance transmission. So that's kind of getting out of our main scope of work into another area in order to accelerate and reach our goals. All right, next slide. All right, this is simply, I'm pitching for the website. This is all on the website, you guys. We have so much information and it's all being updated all of the time. We will now have a landing page for Assembly Bill. Thank you. I was going to say 1761. So there's a ton of information. There always has been, but we continually update. There's links. Next slide. Similarly, on resource adequacy, like I said, we'll have landing pages for the bills. This has been great, though. For 2 years, we've pushed on this issue of being able to transact. And honestly, we even wore down Pacific Gas and Electric. Edison saw the wisdom of this. But PG&E had been a holdout. Energy Division seems to be our biggest holdout. I'm just not sure if they've got the capacity to do it. I don't know. But there is a white paper there, effective mechanisms. So again, we educate, we do the analysis, we go out, we sell it to everybody, we get a whole lot of stakeholders on board. And then we actually you're able to go to our website and actually do transactions. We have an interactive site there. So next page. Finally, as I said, I'm just doing a plug for the website. I believe our winter aggregator just came out last week. That's where you can catch up on all the cool stuff, all the programs that Kathy Wells and all of her fellow CCA program coordinators do there. And tons of links to all the information. Again, we're going to onboard all of you. Next slide. And I'm going to end with, I hope I see you all there. That's what I spent my whole weekend working on that's why my brain's in other places. But it's going to be a big event. We're in Sacramento. I don't know if I'm ever going to Sacramento again. And so it's going to be a big party. Yes, you'll see more coming out shortly, but we hope to see you there and hope to, if you want to speak, you want to present something, just let me know. All right, that's it from me. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions?
Ms. Vaughn, thank you so much for this presentation and thanks for coming down to Rancho Mirage to present to all of us. Hearing this presentation, it strikes me that CalCCA is more relevant and critical than I think naively. A couple of years ago, I thought maybe that the playing field was level. And I think I too agree that we didn't have to worry about PCIA, but apparently that's not the case. So thank you very much for all of your work and for advocacy and for allowing for CCAs to speak as one voice. And I would also like to offer one thing for consideration too. As I look at our CalCCA dues, sort of relative to some of the larger CCAs and what we were paying, I would just offer this for consideration to CalCCA and CalCCA's board. Alternative structures, perhaps based on revenue, perhaps based on accounts served, so that we can maybe more equitably distribute those.
Thank you for those comments. And the ad hoc budget committee went back, they're still at the drawing board, but they thought they'd figure it out last year. And then of course the PCIA and the revenues have gone crazy. And also it's not equitable across how the PCIA impacts various CCAs is very different. So anyways, Kathy, you are most welcome to join that ad hoc. The next meeting is on the 19th, on Thursday. You should come. Greg Wade is now attending from Clean Energy Alliance. But yeah, so we've gone back to looking at load. We've gone, I wish we had a static number instead of a variable number. It's a pain. As I pointed out to them, I said, with the methodology that we currently have, let's say we had 0 budget increase, there's still ups and downs. Like you can't actually freeze, which would be kind of a cool thing to do next year, is just freeze everybody, right? But it's still not equitable. So thank you for your comments. Any bright ideas? Happy to give them to Kathy. Kathy will bring them to the meeting on Thursday.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Are there any other questions, Ms. Vaughn? No? Okay, thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you.
We'll see you at dinner tonight. I'm sure there'll be more questions. All right, that then takes us to the consent calendar. Are there any items that anyone would like to pull from the consent calendar before we consider it?
Yes, Pico Rivera, I'd like to pull item number 3 for a discussion.
Okay. Any others? All right, then I will entertain a motion on the balance of the consent calendar items, item 1, 2, and 4.
So moved.
I'll second.
All right. There is a motion and a second on items 1, 2, and 4 of the consent calendar. Please take a roll call vote.
Yes.
Pico Rivera, Pico Rivera,
Yes.
Pomona,
Yes.
Rancho Mirage,
Yes.
San Jacinto,
Yes.
Apple Valley,
Yes.
Santa Barbara,
Yes.
Lancaster.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay. Discussion on item number 3, I believe Mr. Rob Johnson had prepared that staff report. And is there a presentation you'd like to briefly go over to remind everyone what's going on and then we can entertain the questions or comments from Pico Rivera?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. The consideration of adoption of resolution was set by the board at the November meeting. I believe Allison Burns prepared the item number 3. But I believe there is a substitute to what was decided,
Okay,
which is not in the staff report.
understood. Pico, did you want to make a substitution of that action recommendation?
Yes, for the board's consideration, I had a conversation with Alelia from Santa Barbara about switching roles of her becoming chair and me vice chair for this year due to some of our internal challenges that we have here in the city and demands. I just want to make sure that there's going to be somebody there who can spend the appropriate time necessary. And so that is my offer for consideration by the board.
So are you offering a substitution to the attachment A to swap the location of Pico Rivera and City of Santa Barbara on the order of serving? Is that what?
That is correct.
Okay, I just want to make sure I understood the request. Thank you.
Okay. So with that, Allison, would you mind if we agree to the swap, what would now be the new order?
The order would remain the same as presented to the board with the substitution of in Exhibit A to the proposed resolution, the substitution of the City of Santa Barbara and the location immediately after the City of Lancaster, and then the City of Pico Rivera, immediately after the City of Pomona.
Understood. Okay, I'll entertain a motion of that
Eric,
change.
can I clarify?
Yes, please.
Ms. Burns, are you speaking about just the location or are you speaking about who serves as chair? Those are two different items on the resolution.
Maybe we ask Pico to clarify.
Yes, it's the chair.
It's the chair position, not so much the.
If we don't apply it to both, then we're going to have to come back with it, which is fine, because we only have one Exhibit A. We would need an Exhibit A and Exhibit B to the resolution if we don't follow the same order for both location and service as chair and vice chair.
So, Allison, to just clarify, are you saying they swap places entirely? So Santa Barbara would move up to position 2 on the Exhibit A, and Pico Rivera would move down to the position that Santa Barbara is currently in. So they would not serve as co-chair. They would be waiting.
That's what I had understood to be the request. If that is not the request, then I would need to come up with a different way to articulate the motion for you.
I'm okay with a complete swap of Pico Rivera is, and then we could move forward today as is, right?
Yes, if we do a complete swap, we can move forward as is. Otherwise, I'm going to do some fancy footwork and have you moving from the dais. And we could put it to the end of the meeting. We could push this item off and I could put together a quick Exhibit A and Exhibit B and revise the resolution accordingly while we're going through the rest of the meeting. But it wouldn't be something that any of you would have in front of you. I could pop it on the screen though.
This was an entirely completely complicated scientific method that we used to come up with this fancy new plan. I think I would be okay with a simple, if it's okay with Pico Rivera, to simply swap there's the meeting location as well as the seat.
Yes, that's
Recommendation.
fine with Pico.
And okay, and just swap their position for Santa Barbara. So Santa Barbara would now be number 2 and Pico Rivera would then move to 7. So if that's okay with the balance of the board, that'll be included in the motion. And we can move forward. Okay, I'm not seeing any no's. So yes, can I get a motion to that extent?
Do you want me to restate the motion real quick?
Sure.
Yes, go ahead.
So an appropriate motion would be to move the item as presented with Exhibit A being revised to insert the city of Santa Barbara in the second position in the list and the city of Pico Rivera in place of the city of Santa Barbara in the next to last position on the list in Exhibit A.
Yes, so moved. I don't have to repeat it, do I?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Rancho Mirage first. We entertain a second.
Second?
Palmdale second. Can we take a roll call vote on the motion?
Yes, we should do a roll call vote.
Yep. Palmdale,
Yes.
Pico Rivera,
Yes.
Pomona,
Yes.
Rancho Mirage,
Yes.
San Jacinto,
Yes.
Apple Valley,
Yes.
Santa Barbara,
Yes.
Lancaster.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, that takes us to the new item section of the agenda, starting with new business item number 5, to receive CalChoice 2025 Programs Year in Review Report. And I believe Ms. Kathy Wells, Program Manager, will be presenting the item.
Good afternoon. I'm Kathy Wells, Energy Programs Manager. Sorry, I thought I had more time, so I'm a little ready to go. Okay. Energy programs. Okay. We have some exciting information to share with everybody. We had a really busy year with our members last year. So I was asked to put together a year in review. And it's coming up momentarily. We will share this with you. Very good. Okay, first slide, please. Yeah. So I'm just going to give you a quick overview. I'm going to keep it conversational. Please ask questions on the way if you like, or we can open up for questions at the end. But I'm going to talk about where we began 2025, some of our program accomplishments, and then looking ahead. All right. So first out the gate, in 2025, we established our Programs Advisory Committee. We created the Program Advisory Committee to ensure programs align with member needs and that we're sharing strategic goals. We do have a member from each CCA sits on our advisory committee. We meet once a month. We have our standing agenda, which is programs we're working on discussing. And then what we hope to do is grow the committee to bring new ideas. We would like this to be a working advisory committee. One of the things we did last year was we created a subcommittee, which I'll talk about in a few minutes, for one of our projects. Well, so the subcommittee will be, I guess we'll call it a tiger team. That's kind of what Beth was referring to earlier. And so we just get a few people rather than talking about it and using our whole hour. They can work on that independently on programs that we choose. But what I want to start off with explaining is our first goal out the gate was we did a survey with all the members. I did bring this to the board last August, but just as a refresher, we kind of wanted to gauge where everybody was. Where is everybody on budget? Where is everybody on programming? Do you want in-house? Do you want CalChoice to give you a menu? What came out of that was a few climate action strategic goals. And then really we got a focus, a little bit of a focus of where we should be aligning our programs. So we determined, lowering your rates or affordability. Beth mentioned that earlier. That's number one. That came up number one on the list, I think, across the board. We've have some that want to pursue outside funding, grant funding. We also want to look at building more of a smaller but a portfolio of impactful. And this all sounds, it's difficult to quantify that when everybody has different goals. So that's the purpose of the advisory committee. We also had prioritizing DERs, which is distributed energy resource systems, and demand response and energy efficiency. So those were some of the focus that we came up with. And this was last February. Next slide. And so we did kind of use this past year to guide us on some of the programs we were working on. I think we are going to be this year focusing on actually creating a strategic planning guide or a programs roadmap. We've discussed that on the advisory committee. We do have people identified, and I don't know if they remember that they volunteered or they were voluntold, but we do have another Tiger team that will be working on that coming up shortly. But I want to share some of the key takeaways that came out of that survey. Affordability first, right at the top. Maximizing impact with limited resources. We have different sizes CCAs. Some of us have a bigger budget than others. We'll just suffice it to say everybody's in a different boat, but the CalChoice model is to help everybody, economies of scale, and try to move everybody forward. So equity and inclusion is another big one. We have a lot of programs focused on that this year. I'll talk about that. We want to support climate goals, of course. Every program we are gearing to tack off one of these. And then diversification of program types. We want to get more programs out there, not just solar programs or incentive programs. Let's see what else we can come up with. Next slide. So going into program accomplishments, next slide, sorry. So I put together kind of a programs at a glance, and I looked at some of the programs we are developing. We have many that are going to be launching this year, but I was able to break them down into categories based on our strategic outline. So we've got equity programs, that's the disadvantaged green tariff solar program. We've got Power Choice Care, which is also for underserved customers. And then under energy efficiency, we have two programs coming. We've got the energy efficiency direct install, that's energy efficiency measures, and we're targeting small businesses, your local mom and pops. That is with the CPUC. That's checking off one of those use other people's money, pots of money. So we're going after that grant. Then we've got another one is EBD, stands for Equitable Building Decarbonization, Energy Efficiency Direct Install. That's the title of the program, but it's an energy efficiency that is paid for by the CEC. I will go into that in a little bit, but that's a really big program that's coming online in a couple of months. Then we do have solar storage program offerings through Power Choice. We started with residential, we have the battery retrofit, and right now we are right in the middle of commercial and municipal buildings. And then lastly, virtual power plant. That is one of our goals, and we are currently exploring a distributed energy management system, which I'm giving a presentation about that shortly. So again, all of these align with our focus recommendations. Affordability, maximize impact with limited resources. Is it equitable? Does it include everybody? Can people participate? Are we supporting the local climate goals? And we want to increase education. It's about educating our customers. Next slide, please. And I would be remiss if I didn't talk about our partners. So none of this happens in a vacuum. We have very good partners that we work with. Specifically on the program side, I'm working with Frontier Energy, Participate Energy as our Power Choice, The County of Los Angeles is going to be a partner. That is the Equitable Building Decarb Program. They are the administrator, and we are part of their coalition. And then Trepepe Smith, they are our marketing partner, and they do so much work behind the scenes, above and beyond marketing specific programs. They help us with compliance items such as your annual mailers, your power content label mailers that have to go out. Anytime we have a heavy lift, we want to do a marketing outreach, we call in Trepepe and they are able to help us. So we just want to thank them for that. Next slide. Okay, so right off the bat, our first program, Disadvantaged Community Green Tariff. You don't have to say it, I will say it. This has been the longest program planning since I was brought on 5 years ago. This is a grant project through the state of California. We were given capacity to install a solar system. It has to be, metal in the ground to serve disadvantaged communities, 100% solar. And on top of that, they don't have to pay a premium for that. The customers get a 20% total bill discount. That is delivery and generation side. So it's a big deal. The allocation was given to us back in 2018. So unfortunately, it has not been updated. So we've only got 3 CCAs that are participating in that. I understand they are going back to the drawing board, and I don't know if that means they're going to open it up. If that's the case, fantastic. The disadvantaged communities are really defined by CARB. We have to follow their guidelines. Those change. We're currently on, I think they call it Cal Enviro Screen 4.0. But as I understand it, they're working on 5.0. So that's kind of not good, but kind of good because we can bring in some other CCAs. And the disadvantaged community is not just based on income, it's also based on, air quality and, exposure to that. So where we are with the DAC, we were able to go out last year. I'm just going to give you a history. We were able to find a company to actually install a solar system. We have a very small allocation, they call it, 1.31 megawatts of a solar system. That is really tiny. We've had a difficult time. We did 2 RFPs, no bites. Last year, thank you, Kevin Tenoyan, we were successful and we did find a company. It's currently under construction and it will be up and running July. So right now I'm working with Calpine, another one of our partners. I didn't mention them. They are going to be doing automatic enrollment. Program marketing will be starting soon, and I will be reaching out to each of the participating CCAs, which is Pico Rivera. We've also got Lancaster and San Jacinto. And then in July, we will be serving customers. Real quick, these are the first year program stats. Based on last year's budget request, this could change, it changes every year. 680 eligible customers will be automatically enrolled. It's about 174,000 annual cost savings, which is about $256 for each customer. Not bad. You're going to be automatically enrolled and told, welcome to the program. They do not have to do anything. It's going to be a great marketing tool for your CCAs as well to talk about equity and help these customers. Next program. Yes. Okay. We're speaking about equity programs. So we have our CalChoice program, which is a solar plus storage offering. Last year, we were made aware that the SGIP, which is the Self-Generation Incentive Program, was going to sunset. That is funding through the state of California that when you stack that on top of the federal income tax credit, it's a really good, it gives you a good incentive to adopt solar. The CalChoice program uses those SGIP to bring the prices down. So we were made aware of the equity SGIP by our partner, Participate Energy, and they developed a program specifically for care customers that if they use this SGIP, they can cut their PPA price in half. It's about a 50% savings. So here's an example. I was one of the first. Kathy was actually the first. Kathy DeFalco was the first CalChoice customer. I was second. But, I don't mind sharing. I'm locked in at 14 cents. I'm fine because I love that I know what my bills are going to be. I know what my rate is, and I'm locked in. Care customers are $7, half a price. So right now we've got not only do we have the the participant energy team marketing the program, but each participating CCA has local community solar installers, and they really push this program. So as of the sunset, we had 2.3 million reserved just in the incentive funds. And today, as of 103 care applicants online, but I just got the update yesterday, it's 171. So we're helping 171 customers install that may not have otherwise done it. So pretty proud of that one. Next slide. Okay, this is the energy efficiency program. This is another one that takes a while to do. You need to design a program, who we worked with, Frontier Energy. They are a consultant that helped us design what do we call it? A program plan. We have to devise a budget, and then you file it with the CPUC for approval. We did file our advice letter in 2025. I want to say it was October of 2025. Since then, there's been staff changes. We have a new representative that's reviewing our advice letter. So we've had to submit a couple of supplemental advice letters. It's just taking a while because we need to discuss the budget numbers that Edison gave us. But we believe that is coming to a vote in Q1. Once we get approval, then we will go back and Frontier Energy will help CalChoice develop an RFP to find a program implementer. And we will go from there. I will bring more information to you guys once we get going, and I'll keep you up to date on the approvals. But the first program that we developed, I don't know if it's going to be approved, but it's $2.7 million in funding that will come from the CPUC, and that will pay for the program. So it'll pay for me to work on the program. It will pay for the implementer to install the program. It pays for all the marketing. That's not a heavy lift for the CCAs. Next slide, please. Okay, back to equity building decarbonization, EBD. I want to mention this because it was such a great opportunity. We are part of 50 partners, community-based organizations and CCAs that signed on with Los Angeles County to apply. There were only 3 awards given: Northern California, Central California, and Southern California. And our coalition got Southern California. So it was a pretty big deal. It's $280 million for direct install, which is energy efficiency measures. And this program is tackling equity. We're approaching residential, single family, and multifamily. I believe modular homes are in there as well. And this works exactly the same way as the CPUC program. This is funded through the CEC. It is an energy efficiency direct install. We already have community-based partners working in each of your cities. You may already have relationships with them. Where we are now is we are going to be setting up an introductory meeting to meet some of the CBOs in your area and have them give us a timeline and their marketing plan and what they plan on doing. We do not need to do anything other than assist these CBOs with outreach to our customers. They're already in your area installing them. So, and again, this initial focus area, I didn't say it yet. This first year, I think it's a 5-year program, but this first year, we're beginning with equity. So they're starting in DAX or low to median income areas. Yep. Next slide, please. More to come on that in the next couple of weeks, I hope. Back to our CalChoice. I always say this is one of our flagship programs. Why? It was my first program. It was my big program that we launched, and it's going gangbusters. It really is. We've got 6 participating CCAs. We established public-private partnerships with local installers. I think that was what we want. Most of our CCAs really wanted to hear that. We want to support our local economy. So we were able to onboard those. You can see up here, we've got all these offshoots. So we started with just residential. We are doing battery retrofit. That's really important for some of our desert communities because they're saturated with solar. So now we're able to go back and put battery storage for those customers. CalChoice Plus is the commercial, industrial, and muni. Those are really big projects that are one-on-one. Each of them could be They're going to take a longer time. They each have there's no template. An example is what we're doing a brewery. They're about ready to launch this year. I think now we're looking at a hospital in Pomona. Huge. It's going to be a big program for them. But we're able to do that because of our partners. Power Choice Care, I mentioned. We also have a renters program, which means if you're a homeowner and you are part of Power Choice and you go, I'm moving, you do not have to sell that system to the next person, and the next person does not have to apply for the PPA. You step in their shoes. And you step in their shoes. If it's been up for 5 years, you start at year 5. You just keep going on the PPA. So that is unique to the other solar installers out there. Power Choice referral program has not yet launched, so I won't really talk about that because I don't know anything, but the EV giveaway contest is underway. Each participating CCA, Participant Energy, is giving away a brand new EV vehicle of their choice. It is a contest. It is not sponsored by the CCAs. It is sponsored by Participant Energy. They own the systems. However, they are working with the CCAs and Trepepe Smith, and we're actually, the next week, you will see a big mailer. We're sending out postcards to get people to apply. It is a contest, meaning that they have to enter for a chance, and I believe they have to answer an essay question, take pictures, why they got the system, and what does that mean putting a system in. There's a method to the madness. Each of you will have somebody that you can promote, and it's going to promote your program. So you can get a video and a picture of them with the car. It's going to be a great marketing opportunity. But also, how cool for somebody to win a car. We can't apply, Kath. So yeah, CCA staff and CalChoice cannot apply. But as of this last week, I want to give you some stats. We have 227 customers installed in the pipeline, 304 power walls. Those don't match because a lot of people have more than one. I have 2 batteries. But I want to share with you some of the program statistics. There is a revenue piece each of the CCAs get. We are at about $560,000 since we started. That's fantastic. Energy generated 1,341 megawatts. That's all stuff being generated, not coming off the grid. So I would love to get some GHG figures for you. And I was thinking about that earlier. I need to convert those over. But yeah, that's Power Choice. Thank you. All right. Next is something that's near and dear to my heart, is a virtual power plant. This is not a program we have. This is something that we're working towards. We have already begun just deploying batteries, solar. We did Ohm Connect, which was smart thermostats. We've got those out in all the CCA areas. And then each of the CCAs have their own incentive programs. We've got EVs, EV chargers. All of those things, all of those individual assets can be used to build a fleet of assets that we can use then during heat events. And I will go into this a little bit more on my next item, but we can aggregate all of those assets and use it to either modify our load and save some energy. So you don't have to go out when there's a heat event and buy energy off the market. That's just one way we looked at it. But where we are, we're exploring a DERMS because you can't do anything without the brain, right? You need that software system first. And I can tell you that we being the PAC, discussed building out a demand response program. We came up with the suite, which is FlexWise. And it's all in the works. So more to come on that. Okay, looking ahead. Next slide. All right. So DERMS, I wanted to just bring up something. We started this last year, but actually I've been thinking about it for quite a long time. In fact, the people that are presenting today with me, I met them more than a year ago. And this has always been in the back of our mind. But last year in April, we heard of a piggyback opportunity. We brought it to the board. We did create a subcommittee after we came to the board last August to sort of explore this a little bit further. We've been exploring that. In October, we've been working on a proposal or a program outline, which we're going to share with you momentarily. We received some drafts of the contracts. where we are is like I said, we're working on the contracts. We're still working on devices and what kind of program we can build out for everyone. What's going to make the most sense for each participating member, right? This needs to be something that works for everybody. So we will present where we are today, how far we've gotten, and we will be bringing a recommendation back to the board once we've nailed down some of the details and pricing and such. Next slide. This is the demand response program suite that we talked about. Just a reminder, we've got 3. There's a peak pricing rate. You really don't have to have a device to participate in that. You can sign up. We're going to roll these all out at the same time. There's FlexWise rewards, which is, yeah, I want to participate, but I don't want you to control my system. So you'll get a smaller incentive, but you'll get a bigger one. And then FlexWise Advantage is have it. You can control my storage, my solar. When there's an event, you can use it. You get a higher incentive. That's our goal. That's where we're going. We're not there yet. That's going to be another Tiger team. Next slide, please. Okay, and lastly, is this my last? No, second to last. Oh, this is my program activity forecast. And when I sat down and started plugging things in, I thought, oh my God, I got to get started. When you start looking at all of the things you have to do, you've got to plan far in advance. So we've got a lot of energy efficiency will be happening Q1. Then we will be working towards the DAC will launch, and we hopefully by Q4, we're working towards our demand response and our DERMS. So next slide, please. There we go. So in summary, we've had a successful deployment of our microgrid and storage programs. We've got equity-centered program expansion. Those will be launching this year. We have strong member collaboration. Key partnerships are driving results. And we would like to transition toward demand response and decarbonization. And that concludes my presentation. Any questions?
Are there any questions by the board members?
No question, but thank you, Kathy.
Okay. Thank you all.
Were there any questions from Pico Rivera? I'm sorry. We'll make sure they get a chance to respond before we move on.
No questions. Thank you for the presentation.
Okay. Thank you, Steve.
And it looks like next presentation is Kathy as well.
Good afternoon.
You know what? She does this so well. Like, it's as if she was in acting or something in a prior life.
I'm not acting. This is my passion, actually.
She does an amazing job. Thank you.
I get excited about programs. I am so excited about this next item. The item before you, this is receive a presentation regarding distributed energy resources management system and provide direction. I'm going to give you a little bit of background on this, and then there will be a quick presentation. There's no fiscal impact to this. Costs associated with a one-time software setup. There's going to be ongoing administrative and platform operation service costs. Those are all going to be presented at a subsequent meeting because we have some details to hammer out. But I want to give you a little bit of background. I did kind of explain the roadmap we're on, which is we started distributing energy resources, deploying those. We are on the roadmap to building a virtual power plant. We've had expansive deployment. I mentioned thermostats, EVs and chargers, rooftop solar, battery systems. So we are laying the groundwork. But the VPP is something we want to create. It'll allow the CCAs to monitor, control a fleet of assets to modify load when power is expensive and reduce stress on the grid during called events and during certain market conditions or emergencies. The implementation of a demand response program or a virtual power plant, and they're interchangeable. I use them interchangeably. It requires a third-party supplier to provide the DERM software to manage the devices. It also requires an experienced program administrator to help us establish future demand response incentives for CalChoice members. And the administrator is also responsible for integration and coordination of DER assets with third-party owners. A little bit of history in early of 2025, so I think it was April, CalChoice was made aware of a joint solicitation that was completed by Silicon Valley Clean Energy and Peninsula Clean Energy. for the development of an implementation of a DERMS program for their CCAs. The request for proposal included a piggyback clause, which would allow CalChoice to leverage its solicitation efforts and engage the awarded supplier selected through that arduous process. CalChoice staff did review the RFP documents for compliance with CalChoice procurement policy. And then in May, we engaged our Programs Advisory Committee for review. We discussed the piggyback option. We created a subcommittee to further dig in deep, and we did meet with Lunar Energy, who will be introducing him momentarily. So we reviewed their proposal and final agreement that they were awarded through that piggyback. They were the selected supplier. And through our subcommittee, it was determined the scope of work aligns with CalChoice's energy program goals and satisfies all solicitation requirements. Had CalChoice issued the RFP directly. So just real quick, off script, we did this piggyback to basically save 1.5 years. It took them 18 months, them being the joint CCAs. I believe they released that at the beginning of 2024, and they did not release well, they can speak to it. They didn't award it until 2025, mid-2025. So we saved all that time going through this process. So I mentioned the PAC engaged with Lunar Energy. We did meet with them to discuss program design, any anticipated costs, customer incentive design. Lunar has prepared an initial program design for CalChoice members, and I'm going to introduce them at this moment to give you a high-level program overview. So with us today from Lunar Energy, I'd like to bring up Ed Gunn. Come on up. And on Zoom, we've got Roland Durgan. We have Tomas Weaver, and they will also be here to answer questions. Come on up. I'm going to step aside.
Thank you very much,
Yes.
Kathy. Can everyone hear me in the room and online? Super. Thank you for the introduction, Kathy. So, Mr. Chairman and members of the board, thank you so much for having us here. It's a real pleasure. This is the first time I've personally been in a chamber like this, so it's definitely a bucket list item. So I'm joined by my colleagues online, Tomas Weber, who's been engaging over the last 9 to 12 months with the CalChoice team, and Roland Dordogne, who leads all of our engagement across our California CCA activity. And I'm vice president at Luna. I'm based up in Mountain View, but obviously I'm here with you today. Next slide, please. So just a quick run through on the agenda. We've only got a very short presentation, and I'm really keen for any questions you may have. So I'll start with a quick overview of Lunar Energy, who we are. I'll talk a wee bit about DERMS. What is a DERMS? And then we'll go into why would a DERMS benefit CalChoice and the member CCAs? And then I'll go into a few more specifics about how the Lunar Energy DERMS platform specifically addresses the CalChoice member CCA needs. I'll hand over to my colleague Tomas to talk through our CCA experience. Kathy mentioned it a couple of minutes ago already. And then we'll walk through a bit of a high-level program outline, contract structure, summary, and next steps. And then if we have time at the end, I'd love any questions from you. We'll get into some Q&A. Okay. Next slide, please. And next slide again. Awesome. So Lunar Energy's mission, it's very, very simple. We exist to supply homes around the world with clean, reliable, and cost-effective energy. That is our mission. That's what all of our employees work to, and that's how we deliver services to our partners. And we have a very fast-growing hardware business. We actually have a major part of our business and activity is our battery and our battery system. And we install that battery system around the US and California with a network of install partners. But the focus today is going to be more on our DERMS and VPP software platform. We have one of the world's largest VPP platforms. We operate in many different countries, many different states, and it's a very, very long-standing, long-running platform. I'll talk a wee bit more about that today. And so CCAs, they're really a core part of our mission because they enable us to connect with end customers, the end customer devices, and the grid, and we can coordinate these to provide benefits to customers and the CalChoice member CCAs. Next slide, please. So here are a few of our team leads, and we lead a team of about 260 people based mostly in Mountain View up in the Bay Area and some based in London in the UK. You can hear my accent. I'm actually Scottish, but I emigrated to your fair country a couple of years ago. Thank you very much for having me here again. And we've been building and operating our software, our energy software platform for over 10 years now. We've had a lot of successes around the world, a lot of successes in the US and a lot of successes in California. We've also had a lot of failures, and we've learned a lot from our failures and scar tissue. So we're talking a wee bit more about that and how we're bringing those learnings today. And as an example of our experience, our CEO, you can see him on the screen there, Kunal, he was the CEO of Tesla Energy for many years. So he launched actually the Powerwall 2 to market. And he launched the US's, one of the first residential power plants, virtual power plants in the US with Green Mountain Power about a decade ago. So we've got a lot of pedigree in supporting entities like the CalChoice member CCAs with our services. Next slide, please. Oh, could you go back one slide, please? There we are. Fantastic. Thank you. Okay, so we're headquartered in California, up in the Bay Area, Mountain View. We've got key team, most of the team in that California Mountain View facility. We have grid services, software engineers, firmware engineers based out in the UK as well, out in London in the UK. And then we have operations around the world. So we're very big in Europe, which is where we cut our teeth on our software over a decade ago. We are one of the largest players, software players, energy software players in the Asia Pacific market. And of course, in the US, which is where our main focus is. Our main focus is not just in the US as a business, but it's in California. And within California, our main focus is the CCA use case. We'll talk a lot more about that today. Having staff in both US and the UK allows us also to provide essentially 24/7 coverage for member CCAs and their customers as well. This is a really, really cool part of how we deploy our strength and size to support individuals in your territories. And you may have seen our recent funding announcement. You can see a headline on the slide there. A couple of weeks ago, we released our latest funding announcement of $230 million raised across the last 2 rounds. So the point there is we're here today and we're going to be here tomorrow. When we engage in a long-term relationship with any of our partners, I think it's really important that we're going to be here for the long term to support your member CCAs and, of course, your member CCA customers. Next slide, please. Fantastic. Thank you. Okay, so what is a DERMS? Kathy, I think you did a fantastic job earlier. I'll maybe build on that for a wee second. So distributed energy resource management system, we really see it as a single pane of glass designed to deliver reliable, clean, and cost-effective power. That's it. The DERMS achieves this. Our Lunar DERMS achieves this by connecting controllable devices together into a centralized platform to provide monitoring, control, and optimization of these devices. Now, these devices, or DERs, you may see it written as DERs, distributed energy resources. They can be things like home batteries. Kathy's mentioned a few home battery examples already. They can be electric vehicles or thermostats. So we call that controllable heat loads. But all of those devices can be controlled through our software platform and deliver value and services to your customers, to your member CCAs, to the grid. So the DERMS is designed to manage programs, both existing and new programs, as Kathy mentioned, and it's designed to monitor those assets in the territory and provide impact or performance. Imagine it like a value report from those devices. We also work with sub-aggregators and other platform providers. And the value of that is it maximizes the number of devices and therefore the amount of controllable power or controllable load the CalChoice and CalChoice member CCAs can deploy, which obviously is going to have a bigger impact in terms of the affordability, the grid resilience, and equity benefits that we're going to talk about in a wee minute. Next slide, please. So when we think about the specific benefits to CalChoice and the member CCAs, we kind of break it down into customer benefits, specific CalChoice benefits, and kind of grid or wider society benefits. So focusing on customer benefits first, we critically lower the cost for customers through smart management of those devices. We also, or a DERMS platform will also increase the attractiveness for a customer to buy a device in the first place. And again, increasing the attractiveness means there'll be more devices online and we'll have more benefit. Of course, there's an important resilience factor, so providing greater energy resilience. And we also help, or the DERMS also helps access for low and middle income customers to access devices and the benefits of controllable devices. When we get to move to CalChoice benefits, resource adequacy costs can be tackled and lowered in a consistent way year on year. There's a fleet of assets managed under a DERMS platform provide a physical hedge to market, let's call it market dynamism, okay? High peak prices that you don't want to get caught out by. And one aspect we've seen working really well with other CCAs we partner with is that it allows you to deepen your CCA relationship to your customers. We know not every one of the customers in your service territories knows which CCA they're a member of. This is one way to help improve the brand relevance to your customers. And then finally, grid and societal benefits. So we can defer distribution upgrade needs, and then there's a general support for local economic development. And I'll talk about that in a minute when we think about installers and other people in the network who are going to be have more business because of this. Next slide, please. Okay, so bringing it down to a specific focus on why we think our Luna system, our Luna DERMS platform is appropriate and answers many of the needs of the CalChoice member CCAs. So first of all, we've got a very, very experienced team. I'm a lot older than I look, and it's very difficult to get good at this overnight. We've been doing this for many, many years, over a decade. Like I said, we've got a lot of scar tissue, and we've had a lot of successful customer programs and customer deliveries. The point on the end-to-end solution, I think, is super relevant. We're not just chucking a software platform at you and running away, all right? This isn't a software as a service play. Yes, of course, we have the software, we have the technology, but we have a very large team that does everything from program design, consultation, which we've already engaged a lot in already with the CalChoice team. Program management, evaluation processes, impact assessments, we do all of it, okay? Now, when we think about our platform, so the software itself, because we've been in business for a long time and we've worked in lots of different jurisdictions in California, we've worked with lots of other CCAs, and we've worked with lots of other utilities globally, the platform is feature-packed, all right? It's got a massive library of features. And so when we think about engaging in a long-term relationship with you, it's got the solution today that you need today to get you started, but it's also got all the features that you may need in the future. So you shouldn't have any fear of, oh my goodness, does Lunar Energy, have the chops for this new program we want to do, or this new type of analysis we want to do? We've kind of seen and solved a lot of these problems many, many times over the years in different energy territories and around the world. And I think the other factor we think about when we think about flexibility is we know the member CCAs are not all like one another. We have high desert CCA, we have low desert CCAs, we have coastal CCAs, and there's a different customer mix across all of you, and there's different climatic environmental factors. So there's going to be a prevalence of one device type versus others across the different CCAs, more EVs versus less batteries, more thermostats, more relevant in the versus more EVs in other territories. So the platform flexibility really speaks to ensuring that no member CCA gets left behind and no customer within the member CCA gets left behind. And then with regards to managing multiple value streams. So this is really a point about our obsession with understanding an end customer. A lot of software platforms will just talk about, hey, we've got a big red button. We can give you that big red button. You can hit the big red button and you get a bunch of controllable load. What most folks in the industry are forgetting is that these resources that need to turn up, these controllable resources, the devices I've talked about, they have this other life. And that other life is supporting these customers that have either bought them or been provided them through some LMI or CARE or FARA programs. So we take into account not just the requirements for the CalChoice member CCA and CalChoice itself, but we really understand at a specific customer site level what those devices need to do day to day for those customers. And so we optimize for the customer and we optimize for the member CCAs and CalChoice. And then this point on speaking the same language as installers and OEMs. So you remember when I mentioned we also have a large part of our business, which is a battery business. We build, manufacture, design batteries, solar batteries. We roll them out across the US. Because of that, we have a massive installer network. Okay, we've been building that installer network over the last 4 years. So we all natively speak installer. All right, we know who they are. We know where they are. We know how to engage them. And we think it's a really important part from our experience of running successful programs to bring installers to the table and to really engage them, because they're essentially a really good mouthpiece to your customers, to your member CCA customers in the field. I mean, frankly, they're sometimes the only people the customer will have invited over the threshold into their own homes. So knowing how they speak, knowing how to engage them, which we've got a lot of experience doing, as I mentioned, we think is a really important part of running a successful program like this. And of course, because we're an OEM ourselves, kind of on the side, we also speak OEM. We speak device language. So we have a lot of partners across batteries, EVs, thermostats, all of these controllable devices I mentioned earlier. We have a lot of those partnerships and we can really engage them effectively because we are one of them. Okay. We're really focused on CCAs. Like I said, I know we are a global company. We have a very large team and we're delivering utility services all over the place. But our real focus and our real speciality is CCAs. I think it's really neat where the CalChoice team mentioned the piggybacking clause. That has come off our focus over the last 4 or 5 years on California CCAs. And we think, having worked with multiple CCAs across California, we've learned a little bit about how different CCAs operate in slightly different ways. And so we think that stands us in good stead for supporting the difference across the CalChoice member CCAs. And finally, we're local. I know I don't sound it, but I'm just from up the road in the Bay Area, and we have a team across California. Another key aspect of success in programs that we've seen is the ability for the Lunar Derms platform, the people behind that, to be able to come on site to see you in person, like today, or to pick up the phone at a moment's notice. It's a really, really critical part of any long-term partnership and relationship. And I think being a local is something that we one, love, and two, we would love you to leverage. Okay, so with that, having walked you through the specifics of the Lunar benefits, I'm going to hand you to Tomas. And as I mentioned, Tomas has been engaging the CalChoice team for the last 9 months. He's been working on design proposals and solutions that fit all of the CalChoice member CCAs. And he's going to speak to our experience with CCAs and specifically across California and to CalChoice specifically. So Tomas, if you can hear me, it's you.
I can hear you. Soundtrack. Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can. Great.
Okay, great. Thanks, Ed. Sorry I couldn't be there in person to the CalChoice board. I unfortunately got caught in a multi-foot snowstorm, which up in the Northern Sierra, which hopefully will do good things for our drought situation in the state. But as Ed was just saying, I've been working with the CalChoice team for the last couple months, working on a solution to you all, and I'm going to go into a little bit of detail here, but of course, I'm happy to double click on anything during the question session at the end. But as you can see from this slide, there's a lot of words on it. I'm not going to read them off all to you, but the main point here is that we've built up quite an inventory of experience with CCA specifically throughout California in the last couple of years. Ava in the East Bay of San Francisco was the first we engaged with over 2 years ago now. They are the furthest along with their programs as well. They have had their EV program live for over a year now, and have several thousand enrollments and targeting several thousand more this year. They are in the midst of launching their battery program as we speak and are targeting 3,800 enrollments this year, of which 800 are care customers. And between the two of them, these programs would represent 150 megawatt hours of nominal capacity. Moving to PCE and SVCE, which is what our engagement with CalChoice was piggybacked off of. The PCE team is launching their first battery program as well, live now as we speak. They're focusing on an income eligible program that leverages S-chip funding, similar to what the Power Choice team will be doing for you, as Kathy had mentioned earlier. And then their general market program will follow shortly in the next couple months, and they're targeting upwards of 1,000 assets in the first year of program operations. Finally, Silicon Valley is a little bit further behind. They probably won't launch their first program until Q3. They have a lower customer base of LMI and CARE and FARA customers in their territory, so they are really hyper-focused on assessing the market impact of these programs on their customers, on their resource adequacy portfolio, and are doing a comprehensive study to assess those impacts. So the right-hand column, you'll note that there is the primary DER goals, distributed energy resource goals for each of these CCAs listed, but you'll note that there is some common themes between all of them. And I wanted to point out that these themes very much point on the priorities of CalChoice and all other CCAs that Beth had mentioned, as well as Kathy. So community resilience is a big part of their investment, reducing bills and rates for all customers through addressing resource adequacy. And finally, equity is a major part of the focus as well. So every one of these CCAs will launch enhanced rates so that disadvantaged communities and income eligible customers can access these programs on terms that work for them, because those customers are typically kept out of reach of these programs. So, and finally, I also wanted to point out that enhancement of the CCA brand is a huge part of what we're doing with these CCAs. A lot of customers don't really know about their CCA. They don't even know what a CCA is in some cases. These programs are enablers to help customers learn about their CCA and really enhance the brand that the CCA has. Okay, next slide, please. Cool. Next one again. All right, so I wanted to walk you through our implementation plan from a high level. But again, we are piggybacking our solution off of the SVCE PCE proposal that we did about a year ago. And we are following a similar structure in terms of deployment and contracting, but of course, tailoring our solution to CalChoice's unique needs as a grouping of CCAs and your unique customer base. So in phase one, which is the quarter we're in right now, our immediate target goal is to get a sense for the distributed energy assets that we can get onto our Lunar DERMS platform in the coming year, so that we can include it in your resource adequacy filing in April. So we believe that there are at least several hundred assets in the Power Choice program, for example, that we can include in the RA filing, which will have an immediate impact of reducing your 27-28 resource adequacy needs, hopefully. We'll also, during this phase, engage in a market sizing and DER roadmap building exercise through a number of workshops with the CalChoice team. I hope that all of you can participate in that as well. But the goal of that will be to really sketch out your immediate programmatic goals for your distributed energy resources and building a longer term roadmap, right? So the immediate target, like I just mentioned, will be to include the energy storage and solar assets from the power choice portfolio, but we will also be engaging in phase 2 with other third-party ownership companies. Think Palmetto, Sunrun, those types of companies who are an easy source of access to large swaths of batteries that can be part of your programs. And during this phase 2, we will also, of course, implement the DERM, start testing it and configuring it for each of the CCA specific use case needs. And then finally in phase 3, which would happen later this year, we'll start to implement and design additional DER program verticals. So think, for example, a bring your own device program, which will target customers who own their systems outright, unlike leasing companies like Participate Energy and Sunrun. It's a more involved process because we need to engage more intimately with the OEM, with the equipment manufacturers directly. And then finally, we'll also target additional DER verticals during phase 3, such as, for example, we can do a thermostat demand response program. EV managed charging is another program we can look at. And, and actually, this is a good segue to the next slide. So next slide, please. So I just wanted to highlight our contract architecture that we're proposing to the CalChoice team. So the way we've set up our contract is that we have a main services agreement that sits as our main legal contract between us. And underneath that sits a Scope 1 DERMS contract, which governs all future programmatic scopes of work that we will engage in. So the first one we are proposing is the FlexWise program, which Kathy had mentioned earlier. We'll work on operationalizing that. But by way of example from the last slide, we'll target additional programs in the future, such as EV managed charging or bring your own device battery program or a thermostat program. And it's important to note that we will engage in these program agreements with the CalChoice team, but whether or not individual CCAs sign up for them is of course up to those CCAs. To give you an example, thermostat demand response may be a very good resource type for Rancho Mirage, right? But may not be a good resource type for a community like Santa Barbara, where it is more temperate and may not have the same impact from thermostat-based demand response. But on the flip side, Santa Barbara may benefit more from an EV managed charging program. So those are the types of examples where we'll have framework agreements in place with CalChoice to enable these types of programs, but individual CCA participation will be up to the CCA. Great. So next slide, please. So I wanted to highlight just a couple key benefits to the CalChoice member CCAs. This is effectively saying a lot of the same things that Ed had said earlier, but I wanted to focus them in on CalChoice and its member CCAs a little bit more specifically. So, and again, I'll repeat a lot of the things I'm putting up here were noted as key priorities that Beth had mentioned earlier. So I think we're in alignment with your goals there. But the first point, financial benefits, at scale, distributed energy resource programs controlled through DERMS can deliver resource adequacy cost savings competitively with what the market rate is for resource adequacy pricing. We are plotting one of our big goals here is to plot a chart towards scale as quickly as possible so that we can lower the cost of this investment to you as fast as possible, thus enhancing our market competitiveness against your traditional resource adequacy sources. So this is going to have a downward pressure on rates and increase affordability across your consumer base. Second point, risk management. I think many of you will remember the 2022 heat event late in the summer where you were left short to market pricing. This is a resource where you do have the ability to press a button and reduce your exposure to that type of event, right? So this is a physical hedge to situations where you may be left exposed to market forces. Another point under risk management is community resilience, right? Should the power go out, especially for customers who are on medical devices at home or experience a degree of vulnerability to outages, these types of resources in their home, especially a storage asset, a battery, can be a life-saving thing in their home. There's the environmental benefits, which allows you to redirect funds away from more traditional greenhouse gas emitting resources by harnessing the sort of flexible and untapped capacity in your communities. And there may even be a direct impact on reducing pollution in your communities directly as well. Equity benefits, right? We've talked about that a little bit already, but we see the CCAs as a key bridge to enabling customer participation across the socioeconomic spectrum, and particularly customers who experience fuel poverty may have a huge benefit from having some of these types of access to these resources at an increased incentive rate. There's the single pane of glass argument, right? Which is we're aiming to deliver a platform that allows you to manage across all of your different program offerings. We can work, each of the CCAs have both common and unique needs, right? But our team ensures that no member is left behind and that we can deliver solutions for all of the CalChoice CCA members. And finally, I also wanted to point out that we do work with third-party aggregators and platform providers who have their own specific specialties, such as, for example, in the solution to AVA, we work with a third-party electric vehicle managed charging vendor. They sit underneath our DERMS. We provide dispatch signals to them and they give us visibility back, and the CCA only interacts with our platform and sees that as a sort of single pane of glass. So there's a lot of operational benefits to doing it this way. And then the last point on the slide is, of course, that we offer a source of stability in terms of program offerings. And why the reason this is important is that in California, the availability of programs can really can be like an accelerant for a market in which distributed energy resources flourish. Program stability is an increasing problem in California. Programs come and go, budgets get pulled. We see the CCAs as a key resource to providing stability in those program offerings, and that can really accelerate investment from the development community, from the third-party ownership community, from the OEM community to really get resources deployed in your community, and those can then in turn be brought into your DERMS platform and become a resource for you. So finally, last slide, please. Yep. So next steps, we're going to continue working with the CalChoice team to finalize our DERMS contract and the first program statement of work. We're nearing the finish line on doing that. As I said on our roadmap slide, we will go through and assess the potential of the distributed energy resources, batteries in particular, that are currently in your service territory, to include them in your 27-28 resource adequacy filing. And then we'll start with some program design workshops for the FlexWise program to understand how this virtual power plant is going to work for individual CalChoice members. And we'll also be engaging in a future sort of higher level DER road mapping workshop as well in the next couple of months.
Great.
So,
thank you, Tom. Thank you, Tomas. That concludes our presentation. So happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions from board members? Jessica?
Hi, thank you for coming out and for the presentation. Nice to meet you both, Tomas and Roland, as well. So I have a couple different questions. there's a lot of words that are used where, manufacturer, OEM, sub-aggregators. So I just wanted to clarify that of the ones that you're currently partner with, for example, are you already working with Nest, Honeywell for like as far as thermostats go? What about ChargePoint as far as chargers? Is there certain manufacturers that you're already partnered with that you could share with us, or do you have a list so that we could kind of see that? Because for example, we've considered doing commercial and residential programs where maybe we give away thermostats, and I would hate to roll that out and then find out those thermostats aren't already working with you if we're going to be moving forward with something with Lunar.
Yeah, thank you very much for that question. Roland, I was going to pass that question to you. If you can hear me and you can speak to it.
Yeah.
Great.
I would say maybe without going into the specifics of the brands, I think for that it would be maybe better to share like a comprehensive list of our integrations across all the different verticals. But I think the general answer, and working with manufacturer partners is always a kind of a game of contracting and kind of getting them on board for the right program. So it's difficult to make blanket statements about having a partner. But I think the two categories that you mentioned, like the thermostats, the heat and cooling vertical, and the EV and the EV charger vertical, those are core to our DERMS platform. So therefore, Thomas was saying like we would actively look into those verticals as part of the roadmap exercise. And I think especially what you mentioned about like a new deployment or like a rebated approach, that is always that makes it even easier to make it very to increase the adoption across different partners.
Thanks, Roland. And maybe to add, there are hundreds, thousands of device brands out there. We have a lot on our platform, and whenever we engage partners, oftentimes we're asked, do we have brand X or brand Y? And maybe brand X was sold 10 years ago, but is no longer in production. So we wouldn't typically prioritize old devices that are either we don't have an ability for us to control or engage with, or don't have an existing team that they already work with that can be supporting on them. But in terms of we think about it as how can we capture the largest possible segment of the market with our brand interactions and brand engagements, and that's how we roll it out.
Thank you.
To follow up on that question again, thank you very much for the presentation. I think as we look to this and we look at our customer base and what distributed energy resources are already out there, and I guess my question is, how does that look from a customer standpoint, or how do we capture those customers? Is the customer that has a heat pump water heater, it's not enrolled in any program. They bought a thermostat, it's not enrolled in any program. How do we capture that customer? Do we have to capture the manufacturer for that, or can the customer enroll directly? How do we approach that customer?
Yeah. So I'll kick off and then probably pass to Tomas. But broadly speaking, there is not one way to capture a customer. There are lots of different ways to capture a customer, and we need to use lots of different ways to capture customers. So there are, just to give you a high level view, and then we'll go into specifics. There are marketing messaging that can come out from the CCA. We think engaging the member CCAs to actually put their brand out there with emails or even letter campaigns is very powerful, because it's a more trustworthy brand, frankly, than a utility, as I'm sure everyone would agree with. I don't think that's a bad statement at all. We also have deep engagements with the OEMs themselves, the manufacturers themselves. So certain manufacturers will actually maintain their own customer lists, so we can use the manufacturer to engage those customers. A subset of devices will be managed or controlled by what we call TPOs, third-party owned platforms. So you may have heard brands like Palmetto or Sunrun or Everbright in the market. These are third-party owned operators. They manage hundreds and thousands of devices and have all the customer engagement. So we have partners with all of the TPOs, the third-party owned companies, and we can build specific customer acquisition marketing campaigns using those TPOs. So they can, to summarize, and then I'll hand over to Tomas, you can come direct from the CCA, you can come direct through the OEM, the device manufacturer, you can come direct through the TPO if they already have a customer relationship. And Tomas, you're probably going to walk through about 55 other ways that I haven't covered. But over to you, Tomas.
Thanks, Ed. No, I actually don't have much else to share. Those are the three, that broadly speaking categorizes the three main customer acquisition pathways. And I just wanted to emphasize that the right way to approach each of these customer classes depends on a number of different factors. It depends on which device they have, right? If it's a smart thermostat or if it's an EV or an EV charger or a battery, they're different pathways. It matters who owns the system, right? Some systems are owned by the customers, others are owned by these third-party ownership leasing companies. And then finally, yeah, actually that's the main point I wanted to make there. Roland, anything to add from you?
Yeah, just adding one more dimension to this already comprehensive answer. And you alluded to it before. It is the way the program is designed, right? So there is the model of point of sale recruitment, or like basically, DERs that will become part of a VPP program because of there being an incentive that helps deploying the asset in the first place. And then there's also more like BYO, another acronym, bring your own device programs, where it's basically focused on the recruitment of existing devices after the deployment or installation. So that also influences a little bit like what the answer is, right? So if we would work on an incentive program or like a rebated program, you can often work with the OEM and have these devices join the program initially out of the box, so to say. Or for BYO, bring your own. We could work on a co-marketing strategy with the CCA to lead the customers to a sign-up page or like an onboarding flow managed by Lunar, and then to let them join the VPP.
Yeah, one additional pathway I just wanted to add is, of course, the installer point, which Ed mentioned earlier. They're specifically storage and solar assets are particularly, obviously this is a high cost investment that customers are making for their home. The installer is often the trusted voice to those customers. And like Roland just said, getting them into programs at the point of sale drastically tends to increase conversion rates into the program. But this also extends to other device types, right? Electricians install EV chargers. They can be a marketing voice for the CCAs to get customers in. Same thing with thermostats. So yeah, there's a number of different pathways, and the right approach depends on the program's goals and who we bring in to the programs and which DERs you're targeting.
All right, Jessica has one more question.
Thank you.
So I did have another question in regards to, like, I know you mentioned there's a lot of different pathways, and forgive my ignorance on this, but as far as it goes with the customer, is this something where they need to physically touch each device and like add software into it? Is this something where they can just sign up online, sign a piece of paper? I'm kind of wondering if like we already have a rebate process for example, we already have one for batteries as well as EV chargers and energy efficiency, which we could add thermostats, for example. I'm wondering if I can bake into our rebate application that they're agreeing to enroll, and then we would just be able to share that data, or does the customer need to do anything else?
Thank you, Jessica. Great question. And I was relieved at the end of your question, you got to, can you bake it into your existing processes? 100%. And I know Kathy was thumbs up behind me on that one. So yeah, this is all about, there's a lot of high friction ways to get customers onboarded to programs. We're always focused on the lowest friction ways. So if you already have existing pathways, And these are digital pathways, to be clear. You don't need to, the customer doesn't need to do physical paperwork. They don't need to touch the physical hardware or device. It's all digital. You may have heard the phrase cloud to cloud integration. It's our software speaking to the devices directly themselves. And there are many different member CCAs will have different routes that they want their customers to come through. Maybe some will want a landing page, for example. Maybe some will want, like yourself, to integrate with existing pathways. So all of those are very, very straightforward.
Okay, thank you.
Jefferson, did you have another question? I'm sorry. You're good? All right, well, thank you for your presentation. At this time, well, actually, Kathy, did you have anything else you want to add?
I was just going to mention, Jefferson, you mentioned the other pathway, the third party. Another benefit of that is attracting maybe CCA customers that opted out too, because we can bring all those customers in. They don't actually have to be part of your CCA though. I think that's one of the things we're going to discuss on design, but it is another pathway. So thank you all.
All right, thank you. If the board will indulge me, I'd like to take about a 5-minute break. Someone's been running since 8 o'clock this morning, literally. So 5 minutes starting now.
Okay, shall we?
Hey, you wanna try that?
Yeah, let me. I have a dongle. I didn't have HDMI, but I did. Oh. You got, yeah, you're good.
There's a few people in went to the desert that doesn't find themselves.
As you were driving.
Because I was tailgating in the past. One guy, he held on. Oh, yeah, I was like, you're supposed to make a right turn. Keep going, man. And Art, on his tail, so pick a leg. Take the other. Just let you know. Oh. At least, because I can see him in my rear view, he still has the. Yeah, yeah. And so I think I'm, but. We've already discussed it. Some people think the way they use our system, they can try it.
And then you don't get anybody else.
That's how.
And how people serve. Oh, I know. That's that. Oh.
Pretty sure.
Is this on?
Is this on Screech?
Okay, well, I'll give everybody a minute or so to return. Okay, looks like we're all back. Next up, is Kathy DeFalco to present on presentation regarding Pacific Energy Advisors regarding incremental procurement mandates.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chair Harris and board members. I know all of you are familiar with Pacific Energy Advisors, PEA. They have been an essential partner since all of your launches, since CalChoice was founded almost 10 years ago now. So they are here today to present a presentation on the most recent incremental procurement order that came out from the CPUC recently. And with that, I will hand it over to Kirby Dussel.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Hopefully you can hear me okay. Good deal. I'm wondering if I press this button. All right, off we go. Well, as Kathy mentioned, we're going to talk a little bit today about incremental procurement orders, those that have passed us and those that are in front of us. And so let's just get started. So all right. Can you advance it, Barbara? All right, perfect. So let's just kind of start at the top here. So we're talking about incremental procurement as it relates to California's Integrated Resource Planning, or IRP, process. This is like a headline planning process administered by the state of California. It falls under the California Public Utilities Commission's jurisdiction. And one of the primary focuses of this particular planning exercise is facilitating the achievement of the state's clean energy goals, and doing that in a reliable, cost-effective manner. And I'll withhold all of my personal remarks about cost effectiveness at this point, but nonetheless, in order to meet these lofty environmental objectives that the state has, and in particular those related to renewable energy procurement as well as overall carbon intensity, there's a whole lot of additional resources that need to be added to the grid. We've already undergone a pretty significant transition as part of this process, but there's a long way to go in order to get to where we want to be, this 100% carbon-free objective by 2045. So to date, the state has issued, through the California Public Utilities Commission, 3 procurement orders to try to gain ground on this overall mandate. And there's a 4th sitting now in the form of a proposed decision that will likely be voted out in the next month or so. I don't know the exact schedule, but nonetheless, there's a 4th on the horizon. And as these mandates are handed out, these procurement mandates, that is, they're based on your peak demand relative to the overall system peak. And it's also important to note that when these mandates are handed out, they're only applicable to those organizations that are in operation at the time that the mandate is made. So for CalChoice, you'll notice that there are tranches of procurement that are only applicable to a subset, but we're now at a point, because all of the members are operational, that any subsequent procurement orders are applicable to everyone. So let me see, this button still isn't working. All right, perfect. So we're kind of taking a little graphical snapshot here. The first 3 sets of bars are the procurement orders that have already been issued, dating back to 2019. So that first order, you can see very clearly prescribed a 3,300 megawatt procurement directive throughout the state, but only 23 of those megawatts related to CalChoice. So those were the kind of original members at the time: Apple Valley, Lancaster, RMEA, San Jacinto, and also Prime. And then, so, relatively modest obligation for those members in aggregate. So again, that's 23 megawatts to the members in aggregate. And going forward, however, moving on to 2021, where D-2106-035, otherwise known as the midterm reliability decision, when that was issued, and then another 11,500 megawatts of procurement was prescribed, 109 of those megawatts related to CalChoice. And at that point, we added both Pomona and Santa Barbara into the mix. And then most recently, through D-2302-040 issued in 2023, otherwise known as the supplemental MTR decision, an additional 4,000 megawatts of procurement was mandated, with 62 of those megawatts pertaining to CalChoice. So in aggregate, that's about 19,000 megawatts across the state, with about 200 megawatts related to CalChoice. And the good news is that through a whole lot of different procurements on a contracted basis, CalChoice members are compliant. So there may be some fits and starts with COD dates for certain projects, COD meaning commercial operation dates for certain projects. These are new build projects often that are required in order to meet these mandates. To the extent these facilities come online timely, there will be no compliance issues. If they're a little bit late, we'll have to see how that goes. But this is a circumstance affecting the state kind of top to bottom, left to right, very common. Contextualizing this a little bit. So we have 19,000 megawatts of procurement that have been prescribed to date. The California Energy Commission thinks we need about 52,000 megawatts of battery storage by 2045. That's a whole lot of battery storage. And only a portion of this procurement can be met through that particular resource type. Now, we've gained a lot of ground in adding battery storage to the state system. Dating back to 2018, I think we only had about 500 megawatts then, and now we've got just about, I think it's 19,000 in aggregate. So it's a lot of ground gained, but a long way to go. So we're only about 1/3 of the way there. But right now we're sitting on a proposed decision that would assign another 6,000 megawatts, bringing us to about 25,000 total, with 86 of those megawatts pertaining to CalChoice. But because it's a proposed decision, we don't know exactly what that's going to look like once the decision is finalized. And I'm aware that CalCCA, on behalf of its members, has comments that have either been filed or will soon be filed, that are doing attempting to do a couple of very important things as I see it, one of which is eliminating what would otherwise be a 50% cap on the use of storage to meet this particular mandate. And then also trying to define some very technically nuanced pieces of the puzzle that would clarify how it is that you would be credited towards for the capacity that you would buy in order to meet these mandates. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a bit. But nonetheless, this is kind of the history of the procurement mandates that have been issued. And if we could advance the slide deck, that'd be great. All right. So when you think about complying with these procurement mandates, it's not just good enough to think about, okay, well, I need 50 megawatts, so I'm just going to go out and buy capacity from a 50 megawatt battery storage facility. They tend to complicate things. And in this case, one of the complicating factors is that you're only credited based on what they call is the net qualifying capacity, or NQC, that's credited for each resource type. And that does vary by resource type based on these technology factors, otherwise known as effective load carrying capability factors, that are applied based on technology type to these different projects. So, for example, if you have a 4-hour battery storage facility that's 50 megawatts and it comes online at a particular time, in this case, June 2026, because these ELCC factors are vintaged, you only get 76.6% of that capacity credited towards your mandate, so 38.3 megawatts in this case. It's a lot more extreme for intermittent resources like solar. So in the case of solar, if you have a 50 megawatt solar array that's coming online, say mid of last year, only 6.6% of that project will be credited towards this procurement mandate. So 3.3 megawatts out of 50. So there are some calculations that need to go on. And as we've assisted CalChoice in administering the various procurements that are necessary to take on these obligations, we made sure to take this into consideration as we evaluate project offers that come through and ultimately go through the contracting exercise. But for this upcoming procurement directive that's now framed in the form of a proposed decision, we don't yet know what these ELCC factors are. And that's one of the key pieces of the puzzle that's front and center in CalCCA's comments to the Public Utilities Commission, is trying to get certainty sooner than the July 31st, 2026 date for capacity that would need to be brought online by 2030, because without that percentage, it's really hard to know what projects to go after and how to quantify the scale of those contracts that you'd be putting in place. And then, of course, the 2032 tranche, we wouldn't know about that according to the proposed decision. We wouldn't have those ELCC factors until the very end of 2027. And I think there's comments drafted amongst the CalCCA set that are actually attempting to defer that 2032 procurement obligation until things can be studied a little bit more completely. If we could advance the deck. All right, this is a mess. Let me just start with that. But setting that aside for a minute, I think it's also illustrative, of a little bit of chaos in the procurement world. But you can see here we've got two axes that should be considered. The line charts, the colorful various forms and formats there of lines, those illustrate each CalChoice member's procurement obligations over time. That should be read off the left vertical axis. And then the aggregate CalChoice-wide procurement obligation can be read off the right vertical axis. But I think for purposes of orienting you to the information that's really pertinent here, I would have you focus on the last two bars on the right, which are related to the upcoming procurement directive. So as it sits right now in the proposed decision, CalChoice would need to procure 28 additional megawatts in aggregate by June 1 of 2030, and then an additional 58 for a total of 86 in aggregate megawatts by June 1st of 2032. Now, we don't exactly know whether that 2032 obligation will stick based on some of the comments that are in play right now, but we believe that it will likely be the case that that 28 megawatts that's currently reflected in the proposed decision will stick for 2030. And as of now, based on what's in the proposed decision, only 50% of those 28 megawatts, so 14 megawatts, of course, could be sourced from battery storage projects, which means that that extreme example of the ELCC factor calculation would be applicable in how it is that we address the balance of that particular procurement mandate. Of course, unless, of course, we have success in eliminating that 50% cap. So we're kind of anxiously awaiting how it is that final decision is going to come together, because that will be very instructive in how it is that we go about our procurement efforts. Next slide, please. So what have we done to date in order to help CalChoice meet these different mandates? Well, quite a lot. And you can see dating back to 2019, coincident, of course, with the issuance of D19, that initial procurement directive, we've done a bunch of different solicitations, and you can see in the columns that follow those different solicitation designations how many counterparties participated, as well as the unique proposals. So in certain cases, of course, we have one counterparty that submitted numerous proposals, and then the contracts that were ultimately executed as a result of those solicitations, and those are listed in the rightmost column. The bottom row is a little unique in the sense that that is not solicitation-driven procurement. These are bilateral discussions, meaning we either have a supplier or developer contact us, or we reach out to them directly outside of a solicitation. And by virtue of the fact that the opportunity that's made available is truly unique and also cost competitive, as well as well-suited to the needs of CalChoice, we'll go about orchestrating that procurement for the benefit of meeting these obligations. So all in all, that's, I think, 11 different contracts spread across various CalChoice members, of course. So if you add those all up, it's much more than 11 contracts, but it's 11 different projects that have been pursued in order to meet these capacity procurement mandates, as well as your overall renewable energy procurement goals. Next slide, please. So this exercise has not been without challenges. And you can imagine that when you throw the whole state into a procurement situation at the same time, we're giving up a lot of leverage to suppliers. And we've seen this over and over again. And it's also reflected in CalCCA's comments. And I think it should be pretty obvious. And yet, I think what you'd notice if you read the proposed decision is that the state kind of takes it for granted that you should be periodically going out and buying resources, which of course we are, but specific to these procurement mandates, there are some unique circumstances that wouldn't necessarily drive a load serving entity to pursue these specific projects absent a procurement directive. So again, when the PUC or the state through the PUC throws everyone into the market at the same time. It creates a bit of chaos. As I mentioned, certainly gives up leverage. And we've seen some very unusual asks during the contracting process as a result of that leverage that we're giving up. We've also seen some wildness, for lack of a better expression, in just dealing with contracting processes, generally speaking. And there are a couple of examples here in the middle of the slide, one of which relates to a contract that was fully executed. The paper was done, if you will, pins down, waiting for signatures. And because of the leverage that supplier had, it actually decided to not sign and go out and offer it to another investor-owned utility, selling it out from under CalChoice at a higher price. Now, their rationale for doing that was that it was a better credit profile to support their financing and so forth, but that's just another one of the challenges that's been faced amongst others. And then the next example is a tougher one still, where we actually had an executed contract to meet one of the tranches of procurement that was mandated. And the developer came back to us and said, no, we're not going to honor that. We're actually going to push the delivery date out into the future. And oh, by the way, we have to increase the price too. And the tough thing is because this was a very unique tranche of procurement amongst all the other procurement that was required, and there was really no other way to get it. It was a geothermal project. You can see here it was cited in Utah, and it was originally expected to come online mid this year, but now we're going to be taking delivery starting in 2031. So those are just a couple of real world examples specific to CalChoice that we've encountered. We're hoping to do our best to find project developers that are upstanding and well-intended and won't be doing things like this, but nonetheless, it's happened anyway, and I don't think these examples are limited to CalChoice. And then finally, I would say, just as we go through this exercise, what we've also seen is once upon a time, when many of the members were just getting started, there were way more projects than we had need. And so when we would issue solicitations, there would be hundreds of offers to choose from. Cost really wasn't an issue. There were very competitive offers on a cost basis, but now as we issue subsequent solicitations, we're seeing fewer and fewer responses, which of course, forces us often to deal with folks that we might not otherwise choose to deal with. But that it is what it is, I think is the way to round out this slide. And I think in spite of these challenges, we've got CalChoice in a very good position right now to meet these different mandates. Next slide, please. So what are we going to do with this new procurement order that's soon to be handed out? Well, we're going to issue another solicitation, which is customary during these processes. And we have a tentative schedule right here. This is subject to change based on the release of the final decision, as well as kind of our own thoughts about how this is all going to ramp up. But in the not too distant future, in order to get that initial tranche of 28 megawatts in place by 2030, as well as just attend to your ongoing renewable energy procurement needs over time, we'll be targeting early April as the timeline to issue the next solicitation. We'll be coming back to the members after those proposals arrive to talk about how it is that reviewing them and a recommended short list to promote ongoing contracting discussions. And I think that's about it. But yeah, lots of activity with more procurement orders to follow. As I mentioned, if the state thinks we need 52,000 megawatts of batteries, and we only have, I think I looked at my notes, it's actually 17,000, not 19,000 that we had as of mid last year. We've got a long ways to go. So expect more of these orders to follow and expect us to be here to support you when they do. So any questions?
I actually do. It's funny, if somebody has a better credit profile, the rate should be cheaper, right?
Yeah, they should be theoretically, but when these projects are in limited supply,
it was rhetorical.
Yeah, I know.
When does it start to make sense for an organization like ours to really start considering development of our own projects?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I think there are capabilities that currently aren't in-house that would need to be brought in-house or contracted for. Just, you're starting to wander into this realm of operation and maintenance and so on and so forth that go with project ownership. And so, I think that's probably a discussion that we should continue having, and maybe you just started it, George. I think that probably would be worth doing, because I think at the scale we're talking about, and maybe the interest that some of the member communities might have in siting projects within their footprints, that could be the turn in the road that gets you going on this.
Thank you. Any other questions by member?
I think more of just a comment. It's fascinating the way how these mandates are really driving the market in interesting directions. So I guess one question is, do we see any solar only projects being developed now? I would expect no. And then the next question is, what is this doing to the price of geothermal projects?
Yeah, you're seeing very few solar only projects being developed now, and it's just driven the price of geothermal through the roof. I think because one of the tranches of procurement could really only be satisfied by geothermal resources, that gave up a lot of leverage there. But I think just generally the delivery profile of geothermal, coupled with the fact that it's being counted as a zero emission resource and power source reporting, and that predictability that goes with the planning process that you get from geothermal, has really increased the value. But it's also very costly to develop as well. So yeah, it's definitely on the rise. I'd have to check on that, but I want to say it's probably kind of not near the bottom end and not near the top, somewhere in the middle. But I don't know if looking over there, seeing James shake his head, if he doesn't know, then we'll have to get back to you on that. Yeah.
Any other questions? Pico Rivera, any questions?
No questions.
All right. Well then, thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
Next up, Ms. Kathy DeFalco, again for item number 8. We're going to receive a general manager update on procurement and regulatory topics.
Good afternoon again, Chair Harris and board members. I am going to give you a very brief update this afternoon. You've received a lot of information today, but I do have a couple of things I'd like to touch on. The first one, just a quick procurement update. I know the team has been working with you over the past month or so on working with rates, and part of that has been reviewing financials and pro forma. We recently heard from PEA that they are discussing with, I guess, a group of potential counterparties on filling in some of the Q3 capacity requirements that we had open. And right now it looks like there will be a $1.3 million savings across the CCAs below those pro formas that we previously shared with you. So just kind of a quick update there. The other thing I wanted to mention was CalChoice Lobby Days. There will be a group of us, Interim CEO Johnson, Vice Chair Parento, myself, and we'll be meeting with Andrea DeVoe and Charles Wright on March 17th through March 19th. We'll be up in Sacramento to meet with a group of legislators. Last year, I think we met with 13, Rob, over the course of a day or so. Yeah, so it's a very busy day. We just go in, kind of talk to them about our unique needs as smaller cities and what CalChoice does. We will be emphasizing many of the things that Beth mentioned, particularly affordability. The PCIA bill will certainly come up, I have no doubt. So we will, Andrea DeVoe from DBG will be with us at our next board meeting to give the board an update on how our CalChoice Lobby Days go in March. The other thing I wanted to mention was Diablo Canyon. I know I have spoken to some of you. I will speak with probably all of you at some point. Some of you have no nuke policies, some of you don't. But I do want to, there are 2 bills, right, Beth, that are under consideration, and we don't know which one. Okay, yeah. Yeah, so we'll know by the end of this week. As Beth mentioned, the last day to introduce bills is the end of this week. So we'll know a little bit more, but it's a hot topic this year. We could certainly use the reliability. There is, I don't know that there's a lot of consensus. It's still early stages, talking at the CalCCA board level. Some CCAs are very adamant that they have no nuclear in their portfolio. So I will be interacting with you, getting some feedback from all of you. I think at this point, it's really what does CalCCA do to make sure that we get our voice heard, so we're just not told what to do, and be also mindful of the various CCAs and how they feel about having nuclear. There's also a cost component that we want to be very aware of. And we're actually working with Turn on a little bit, having conversations with Turn. So anyway, there's more to come on that. Again, it's, it has to do with whether you want nuclear energy or don't. Some of it's locational. If you're sitting right outside the nuclear power plant, you may view it a little differently than somebody's a little further away. And again, that's very early stages, but just wanted to kind of put that on your radar. The CalCCA conference, I know Beth also talked about that. I did send an email out with registration instructions. I will follow up. I think that went out maybe January 21st, around that timeframe. I will send out reminder emails to you all when there are certain deadlines coming up. One of them is the hotel deadline. Please book early. They do tend to sell out. The hotel registration comes up after you register. There's also instructions how to register so that it is billed through CalCCA, and then we'll invoice you through the normal monthly distribution. And I will also send out an email when the early bird pricing drops off so that you will just get a little reminder. And I think the last thing I wanted to mention, and you won't believe we're talking about it already, but this year's CalChoice All Member Summit, which we tend to get together in the fall timeframe, we will be looking for a location. So if any of you would like to offer up your city and to host the summit, please reach out to Kathy Wells, who didn't know I was going to say that, but please reach out to Kathy or me or both, and we can start having those conversations. I know it's early in the year, it's many months off, but we do want to look for hotels and venues and things of that nature. So we tend to get a start about this time of the year. And that is it for my update. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next up, Interim Chief Executive Officer Rob Johnson is going to give a CalChoice operations update.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. I'm just going to stay here. I got 3 items for you. Most notably, I should probably change that, or we should probably change that to chief cheerleader for the group, because kudos to our CalChoice team. They've done a marvelous job over the last 7 or 8, 9 months since I've been in this interim role. Really appreciative of what they're doing. We have a lot of great partners, as you can see, especially from today's presentation. Just an amazing amount of information, and I continue to learn every day. But also thanks and kudos to our Participate Energy team on the PowerChoice and PowerChoice Plus implementation and the success in each one of the CCAs that has been participating. Also very excited about the EV giveaway, or we keep forgetting $35,000 in cash. So that's pretty exciting. It was fun to be part of their commercial little advertising that we're able to put together for them. Also, later in just a little bit, really excited to share with the board the StrataGauge dashboard, which we'll engage you with. And then finally, I've received and am reviewing a proposal at the last board meeting in November. We talked about the potential of a strategic plan and succession planning with the board, and I have a proposal for that. I'm reviewing that. I hope to bring that back to the board in May for further discussion.
Okay, thank you. Next up, item number 10, Ms. Allison Burns. Oh, she put her hot cocoa down for her presentation. Thank you.
Good afternoon, board members. My updates are you have in front of you, and you are now each the proud owner of a hard copy of the Brown Act, which is one of the new requirements under the changes to the Brown Act last year. We are required to provide board members with a hard copy. Congratulations, you now have it. It is an excellent source of bedtime reading. And secondly, reminder that Form 700s will be due on April 1st. Don't forget. And that's it for me.
Thank you, Allison. All right. And then the final item before we adjourn to closed session is our board study session led by Mr. Rob Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. I believe that Barbara Boswell has the first item.
Chair Harrison, board members, I hope you don't mind if I just stay here and click through. So we had a really great workshop in November where we had a lot of great feedback from the board on what we're doing, what you'd like us to focus on, new things we might consider doing. And so this, the point of this presentation is to report back on our review of all of the white pages with all of the ideas and topics that you shared with us, and our plans for how we're going to what we're going to do with that information. So at the workshop, we discussed operational logistics, and we have now checked that item off. You adopted the resolution this afternoon that established the board meeting rotation and the chair vice chair rotation. You received the Brown Act update from presentation from General Counsel Allison Burns, and now you have the hard copy, and so that item is checked off. And then we discussed priorities. What should we be thinking about, and what should we be focused on over the next several years? In looking at all of the items that we had on the board, we saw some recurring themes, and we have bucketed those into 5 different categories. They include administrative and board strategy, cost saving, innovation, and efficiency, education, information, and programs, finance, budget, and contracts, and legal and regulatory. So looking at the administrative and board strategy bucket, the issues that the board brought up were things such as succession planning, a strategic plan, and priorities. You talked about agendas and workshops, and mission, vision, values. And so our thoughts with regards to what we have planned moving forward is Rob mentioned he's looking at scheduling the strategic planning workshop for May, and that will include a discussion of succession planning and also development of mission, vision, values for CalChoice. We also will be scheduling board and staff workshops. And so we're looking to you for topic ideas. So please email or reach out to any of us if you have an idea of a topic you would like for us to schedule a workshop on, or we will investigate what's available on CalCCA's website and point you to where you can find information on that topic area for your staff. So we do want to do our best to bring you the resources you and your staffs need to perform their duties. Under cost saving, innovation, and efficiency, the items that fall into that category are related to the information dashboard that was discussed, discussion around price and cost optimization, discussions around joint projects and additional cost sharing opportunities, and the distributed energy resource management system. So as follow-up, after my presentation, we have scheduled a demonstration of the StrataGauge dashboard that is being implemented or has been implemented in San Jacinto Power. We will continue looking for opportunities for joint projects cost sharing, and look to you also if you have an idea of something that you think makes sense that we're not currently doing. Please, again, send them our way, and we will definitely look into those opportunities. And then today we did provide an update on where we are with the DERMS. we will continue working on negotiating that contract and bring it back to you in May for consideration. Under education, information, and programs, one was a discussion on CalCCA communications and resources, and this is in process. We are putting together, we received information from CalCCA that we will send to you on how you and your staff can get access to the SharePoint that has all of the information that those 700 people go online to look at. They include the green bag webinars, so you potentially get emails on them, but maybe you can't attend. Those are generally recorded and available, and you can look at them at your leisure. And also the CCA 101, and we will be reaching out to Leora. Talk about outreach practices, so practices with regards to communications with customers and customer outreach. Scheduling board briefings before board meetings, which we did that this go around, and we will continue before each board meeting to offer times for you to participate in briefings, and then looking for grant opportunities. So the follow-up is the StrataGauge platform, but also with regards to grants, if you have ideas of projects that you want us to help with grants, please let us know, and we will put our resources out there to look for opportunities for grant funding. And that might even be a good place to identify opportunities for joint projects. And then under the finance, budget, and contracts bucket, issues identified there are collections, our very favorite topic, not favorite topic. CalCCA fees, the CalChoice service fee structure, and annual budget. So in terms of follow-up, we are going to continue to evaluate the collections issues for legislative opportunities. We had the CalCCA presentation to the board, and that is complete. For the CalChoice service fee structure workshop, we will schedule a special meeting before our May budget to discuss with the board how we currently assess fees and gather input and ideas you have on how we might consider changing it. And we will do that in plenty of time ahead of the budget in order to implement any change that you all feel would be appropriate in terms of our allocation of fees. And then we will also hold just a budget study session before bringing to you the final budget for approval. So there'll be 2 times that we'll talk to you about budget. One focused on the allocation of fees, and then the other part will be the draft budget. Items under legal regulatory are, there was a discussion about lobby day, and collections came up again. It falls under this category. So we do have our CalChoice lobby day scheduled. We did have an idea of putting together an ad hoc special purpose subcommittee to evaluate options for collections. So we'll be reaching out to see who might be interested in that subcommittee. And then just increasing our regulatory and legislative communications. We have spoken with DBG. They will be doing a presentation to the board in May on legislative topics, but we will also schedule to have our regulatory attorney also to present to the board to give updates on those regulatory proceedings or items that are of, top interest. There's always pages and pages and pages of things going on, but there's always 1 or 2 that seem to be, the hot topic of the day. And that concludes my presentation. So just want to, I guess, check the temperature. Are we headed in the right direction? Thumbs up, sideways, thumbs down. Did we take your ideas and thoughts and comments, and are we moving in the right direction? Or is there something different you might like to see us do?
I think that was a really good summary, what we discussed at the last meeting. So good job categorizing it into those few categories.
I have to kudos to our interim CEO for that.
Thank you. Thank you, Rob. Thank you, Barbara. All right. So with that, unless there's any questions or comments or additions to the list that they that Barbara just presented, we can adjourn into closed session.
Yeah, just a couple items from Pico Rivera. Just one thing I just wanted to see if we could possibly do when we consider doing some of these meetings is if we could take a look at the calendars. Contract Cities has an event in May, and also ICSC, the shopping center conference. I wasn't able to make it today because the league had a conference last week. And so, being out of the office for a lot of days sometimes becomes challenging. So if we could just put that on your calendars, I know we can't all make it work, but those are pretty big ones that I think get a lot of participation from a lot of cities. So just wanted to put that on your notes. Barbara.
Thank you. We will take a look at those and check to make sure we don't have a conflict with our next board meeting, and then adjust if necessary to ensure that the board members can participate in those as well as our board meeting. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
All right.
I'm sorry, Rob, yeah, you did have a presentation before we adjourned the closed session.
Yes, sir. You can't run away yet.
Yeah, no,
Just yet.
we're all here.
I'm going to do a brief intro, then I'm going to welcome in Vishal Kalia, who's going to do a demo from Strategage AI. I think we've updated the name of the business. So congrats and thanks, Vishal, for being here. So, wow. We have received info and will forward that to you. That might be a thing of the past. Wouldn't that be great? If CalChoice staff could receive information instead of sending it out to each board member individually or having to send you another email, it is put on a dashboard that you can log into to get updated information whenever you want to get it. You won't have to look into your email inbox. You can, because it'll probably send you automatic emails to update you. But if you look at those 5 items: administrative board strategy, cost saving, innovation, efficiency, education, information programs, finance, budget, contracts, legal, and regulatory as strategic priorities, the dashboard would really fall into strategic priority number 2. We're looking at doing something innovative. We're looking at being more efficient. We're looking at cost savings on staff. We're also looking at AI integration. As I shared with some of you, and some of you saw the dashboard that I had at the November board meeting, San Jacinto has an intranet, and the intranet was Strategage. And we designed with, of course, Vishal, who put it all together, but we designed what we wanted to see, what information we wanted to be there, and then we are able to update that information as much or as little as we want to. And so if you think about CalChoice as a group of staff who have a lot of information that need to get that individually and collectively to all of you, that dashboard could be a place to keep that information, number 1. And then 2, as a subset of that, you could all have your own dashboard that's either connected to it or which keeps private information private, or you could share information with other people. You give the access or you deny the access. Yes, it's very much like SharePoint. CalCCA probably has something very similar, but this would be our own. It would be very different for each one of the CCAs. You have control and you have design capabilities and building capabilities of your own quote unquote platform or page or sharing space, if we call it that. What's also great today is Crystal Williamson, one of our new staff members in San Jacinto, has been thrown into this thing called CalChoice and CCA and San Jacinto Power. And we believe at San Jacinto, because we went out on a limb and purchased the platform for San Jacinto Power, it's going to provide her an opportunity to get immersed as quickly as possible into all these varying degrees of information sharing, gathering, and thought processes. And it's a collective and individual dashboard. It now has AI. So once we solve some issues with Vishal on the AI portion of it, the San Jacinto City dashboard will be integrated and merged into the Strategage AI dashboard, and we'll be able to do templates for minutes, for agenda meetings, for staff reports. We'll be able to upload contracts into this and have it write a staff report for us that we can then go in and adjust and make comment to and provide. So a lot of great stuff. I'm going to turn it over to Vishal, He's going to do a demo for you to show you all the cool stuff that we're looking at doing for San Jacinto Power and, of course, for our CalChoice team. And then hopefully you're all in with your own piece of the puzzle as well. And then Cynthia Crystal is going to come share ways that she believes it will help San Jacinto Power and her in her new position. Vishal, thanks for being here.
Thank you so much, Rob, for the introduction. And hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining and giving me the opportunity to present strategies to you all. So we'll do the demo in two purposes. One, I'll show you the program management side where you can have, your goals and dashboards and all that, how you can share information. And the second one, we have built two specific AI agents, AI co-pilots that, as Rob mentioned, that actually helps you convert your reports, things like that, to presentations and create other type of content. And this is just like the beginning of it. And our goal is to give you the assurance that as we go along, this is something that will be built in your picture, like how you would like to see things you are struggling with day to day. Our goal is to help you get your time back. So let me do a screen share. Rob, I think somebody would have to give me the ability to do that. There you go.
It's working. She's working on it.
Perfect.
The hamster is running.
No, all good. So this is a quick overview of how our platform kind of looks like. So our goal here was simplicity is the key, that we want to make it so simple and easy to use that there should literally be like no training whatsoever required. But then again, we're still here for you. So as we come along, so this kind of gives you this ends up being like your homepage. So where you can see overall like what's going on in different projects, different programs for you. So as for the demo purposes, as Rob mentioned, there are like 5 key pillars for the board of directors, like admin and board strategy, reg cost savings. And for here, you can kind of see for the admin under there, you have things like succession planning and workshop agenda and strategic plans. And all this stuff kind of gives you a quick overview of what exactly is going on in each one of these projects, where their goals are being met, when are the due dates, how much is being accomplished. So you got a pretty good overview of what's going in different ones. So here we'll add more than you can actually kind of see here. So this becomes your instant that you don't have to call anybody, pick somebody, what's going on. You can come see and the information is there. And if you're logged in as an individual, this kind of gives you a quick overview of anything that has been assigned to you. So here, you see I'm Ted Lasso, like at our company, we love this show. So these are the stuff that I'm part of, like for an admin and board strategy. These two are my tasks. I can kind of click here and change and so on and so forth. And so the goal here is you can just come in and quickly glance and see what's going on. And the way we have the system is like there are different workspaces for each organization. So you can have workspace just for the board, and the workspace will include home, initiatives, goals, and the dashboard. You can have workspace just for San Jacinto programs. You can have workspace just for Lancaster Energy, Pico Rivera. So each one can have its own workspace, can have its own programs and goals. And it's up to you, like Rob said, if you want to share, make somebody a guest who can come, take a look at your workspace, you can. If you don't want them, they will never know that this exists. So it's very able to do that. And there's no limit to how many programs, initiatives, goals, tasks, workspaces you can have. You can have workspace of 1, you can have workspace of 1,000, completely up to you. And the setting it up is like super simple. So it all starts with, strategic initiatives or programs or projects, whatever you would want to call it. Simple thing you can create here. You add your name, you add a little description about it. And every time you add something here, it creates like a task over here. So each one of these under admin and board, you can see there are like 4 goals. So succession planning, agenda workshop, strategic plans. And under each one of these goals, you can easily see which were the tasks involved and who is assigned to these tasks. I assigned Rob everything here to make sure he is on top of stuff. And you can kind of click, this is completed, things like that. And this kind of keeps track. Anytime somebody changes anything, all this stuff is automatically updated. It automatically up on the dashboard on the homepage. And one of the things we also got from the team was that, hey, if I have like some documentations that I want to attach, like do you have the ability to upload those documents that are particularly part of, like identifying professional experts. So our system gives you the ability to kind of add your notes, and you can add links to your Google Docs, your Laserfish docs, whatever those things could be. So it's very like easy to kind of do those. And adding these goal stuff is like pretty simple too. You just kind of click on add goal and you can call it whatever you want. You can add here, you can add task, same way you can assign to the person, date, and so on. So pretty simple and pretty easy to do. And all this stuff kind of trickles down everything else. And the way these things are structured is based on how you have your stuff. This is the main dashboard where everything shows up. And the dashboard, as Rob was saying, it is extremely customizable. So anytime you create an initiative or program, it kind of creates a card for you. So you can kind of find that this is the card for this. And what it does is you can add your own logo, you can add your description, you can rename it the way you want it to be, and all that is totally customizable up to you. And what our system also comes in, it comes with multiple, we have access to a royalty-free images. So if you have, let's say, Reg Ledger cost savings, and you want to have like a different type of images to make it look more appealing to your internal, you can kind of click here and you can search for, any type of images. And our system has like access to like multiple royalty-free images that you can actually kind of use to make it the way you would want it to be. Making stuff like super simple for you to kind of as you go through. And the way this works is every time you have, so these are your cards for each of your programs. You can click here, and then the card will open it up for you to kind of give you an overview. So this is the description you wrote before. You can have certain latest updates. Sometimes these initiatives are multi-year initiatives that will allow you to kind of add as many details as you want. You can have a latest update, and this kind of shows you the overview of where those goals are. And the way this dashboard also works is you can have multiple dashboards. Maybe you want one that could be public facing, maybe you want that is internal and you want to show different type of information in each one of them. So you can duplicate dashboards and you can add, subtract information as you see fit. And the way you share is each one comes with its own URL, and it also comes with its own embed code. So you can, and if this one is like, you have its own URL, you can kind of do that, and you can embed it on your website. This is like a read-only formation. You can share it with anyone, so anybody can come in and literally take a look what's going on with different projects. Are they on track? Are you ahead? Are you just measuring these things? So very simple and very easy to do this. And this also comes with multiple KPIs. So if you have a specific KPIs you want to track, we'll give you the ability to kind of do that as well. You can have your own, our system comes with about 80 plus KPIs in the library. So you can pick and choose whichever one you want to track. Or if you want to do your own, you can kind of create your own KPIs and you can link those to specific programs and so on. And this is kind of like a quick overview of how all this works. And you can have, as I was saying in the beginning, you can have multiple workspaces. So like this is like board of directors workspace. Maybe you only want to give certain people access to it. So this is the concept of workspaces right here. So if I look at board of directors workspace, you can see I'm the only one who have access to it. But if I want to add another user, I click on a user, I can add in, and maybe I want to add Rob here. Then all of a sudden Rob also has access to it and he can make changes, add, subtract stuff as you go along. And there's no limit to how many workspaces you can have. And this is where it becomes very powerful that you can have your own projects, as Lancaster Energy or Pico Rivera, you have own projects, you can have shared projects with another company, you can just have your own individual project that you might be working with. So there's no limit to how many of these you can take. And based on whatever projects you're working, it will only be visible to you. So like if I go to San Jacinto Power, as you can see, this is the CalChoice project that they're working on. They want to get like 500 applications, get 100 installations. So this thing is only visible to them and will not be visible to anybody else who's not part of this workspace. And like the same way you can run multiple programs on it. And one of the things, as Rob mentioned in the beginning, that a lot of time these type of projects, things change all the time. Like project is changing, something getting updated, people miss. So one of the things our system does is anytime there's any change in the project that you are part of, you have a notification tab here that tells you what has changed. And you also get an email that gives you a quick overview of what things has been changed in the project that are relevant to you. So you never really miss anything from your side. So this is kind of like a quick overview of this particular tool, and I'll see if you guys have any questions that I can answer.
Thanks, Vishal. Also, if you think about council members or members of the public that are looking for access and information about your individual CCA, You can set that up as public facing and only provide them the information that you would like to provide them. And then if they want to request more information, they can do that through the dashboard as well. And then you can provide that information to them.
Right. And you can also run like, employee of the month type of programs that you want to give kudos to, people working in your team and other teams who are actually doing great. So we give you the ability to kind of run all of this as well on that.
I actually have a question from the peanut gallery back there that was texted to me. They are asking, does it integrate with our other Microsoft products? So can I schedule appointments here? Can I, as part of the project management process and so forth?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. So that brings me to my next part, which is the AI component. So this is the project management part. So what we're adding to this thing is like these AI tools, which will allow you to, which integrates with, calendars and appointments and things like that, that will give you the ability to kind of book those appointments here as well. So yes, you'll be able to do that. We'll make that specific AI copilot for you if you want it to do that.
Any other questions?
Crystal Williamson? Why don't you come up and share, and then you and Vishal can wrap up.
Yeah. I can show you guys actually one quick thing, Crystal. Sorry, like just to get my stuff here. So this is the 2 AI co-pilots that we have created. So basically, one of the things I got from Rob was, 2 key challenges or things that actually take a lot of time is creating presentation decks. So a lot of time you have different reports and you got to convert them into presentation decks. So we created this one AI co-pilot, which basically take like this staff report that you guys had on DERMS, talks about recommendation, fiscal impact, and all that. And let's say if you want to convert this into a presentation that you want to give on the next board meeting, all you need to do is you upload this document here, like the one I just did, and you just say, create slides based on the uploaded report. And our AI system will actually read the report, see what's in it, and we also will train it based on the presentations that you already have in the past, and then it will create a copy of this presentation for you. As you can see, it does introduction, then gives you a visual concept that you can have this type of an image along with it, what are the key points in slide 1, and also give you speaker notes that, hey, welcome to presentation. So you can have a background about the project, what's your recommendation, and this is all the data that is actually grabbing from this report and reading it. And this will save you like tons and tons of time, right? So it has this whole presentation, and this gives you a great starting point. If you're trying to generate presentations, and I'm sure you guys probably did tons today. And if something you like, you don't like, you can actually kind of send it back like, hey, can you add this data point, or can you add this slide? And they will actually do that. And once this is done, seems to look good, it'll ask you if you want to generate like a PowerPoint. You're like, oh yes, I want to generate a PowerPoint. And this will actually generate a PowerPoint presentation for you with your particular template that you have given us. So this can be customized in that exactly way. So I can actually kind of show you it's going to do it here. But this is the one that I just created before our call. So it basically took all this text on the presentation. This was San Jacinto's presentation template. So you have your logo, these colors. It basically moved all the presentation slides right here. And all you can do, you can make changes here if you want. And if you want your download. So literally you don't have to create presentations ever again. With one click, it does everything for you. Here, like I said, it gives you ability to do it. You download it, presentation is there. You can kind of do that. So it makes it very simple. And this can be very customized to way exactly how you do presentations, what type of content you like in each presentation. So we can customize it with your template, your things. Next one, quick one I also want to show you guys is, so like San Jacinto, you were running like a quick contest on about winning an electric vehicle. So this AI co-pilot basically takes that information. And one of the things I was talking to Cynthia, she's like, well, we have to create a video transcript, that the video that Rob created for a 60-second video. I have to create email announcements. I have to create LinkedIn campaigns, things like that. So what this does is it does all that for you. So all you do is just kind of upload the document that we have. So like this one, for example, this was the raw report that we received from San Jacinto Power. And with this gives you the ability to kind of do that as well. Live demos are always fun.
So it will produce social media content for you.
Yeah, absolutely. So all you got to do is just you upload this content here. We'll upload the file. There you go. So create video script for 60-second video, right? So it will kind of go read the document and it will create that for you. If you wanted to create, so this is the information it's grabbing. So it's like, okay, I will create that for you. So I'm like, okay, let's do this. And now it's going to create the 60-second videos. You can have email announcements if you're doing like email drip campaigns to like residents that you want to generate like 5 different type of emails that cover basic information, and then you're able to send it. This tool will create all the stuff for you in a fraction of seconds. And then eventually we can even have this thing link to your HubSpot or Constant Contact, whichever email you're using. So like here, it created a video script, and this video should take like 60 seconds to record. It gives you like a little visual, audio, things like that. You want to create an email, it will create that for you. So then we can also link this to your, HubSpot, whichever tool you use to send email. So with this click, once you're satisfied with the email, you're like, okay, great. Link it to Constant Contact and set it out to go out on, Monday morning. You just do that and it's done for you. You never have to go out and log in into Constant Contact or HubSpot or any place like that. So this is just to give you like a sample of what can be done. Like here's the email completely written for you, and you can have it write multiple emails. So this saves like a huge time saver for everyone. And this is just 2 basic ones we created. So our goal here is to work with y'all to figure out what are the other workflows where you think your team is spending an hour here, 2 hours here on a weekly basis. Could be report generations, could be social content, could be anything. We have the ability to automate all of that stuff specifically for you. You want to schedule meetings through calendars, we'll be able to do that. So our goal here is, you tell us what you need that will save you time and give your time back. We will make that happen for you.
Vishal, I do want to add,
Yes.
when this does translate or create specific data for outreach, it's not just a cookie cutter. It's specific to if it's for an email, if it's for Twitter, there's limitations with Twitter. If it's for Instagram, there's sometimes, character limitations, Facebook. So it has the ability to conform it to whichever one of those specific outputs you want to go to.
Absolutely. Yeah, so that's part of the training comes in. So like this one, for example, this one we created gives you these 4 things. So these are 4 separate agents that we've created in the past. And each agent has very specific requests that, hey, when you're creating LinkedIn campaign, look at San Jacinto Power's old LinkedIn post. This is the way they write it. Move that. And then we also give you the best practices like, hey, on LinkedIn, when you're posting, your headline, which stays above so you get about 2 lines above the fold where somebody has to click on see more, write in such a way that that line is extremely enticing and people want to read more. So we'll give it very specific instructions based on that. So that's why it ends up being very, very specific to the social platform it's going to post this on.
Awesome.
All right, pretty impressive. Now we know how Rob puts his staff reports together.
No, I haven't, but I can do it now, right? And so how do you all immerse a new staff member into energy, right?
Right.
There's so much information out there. And so how do you cull through all that? And how do you tell somebody, okay, here, you're a part of this now and go. So Crystal, how are you going to do that?
So, yeah. Other than calling Kathy Wells for everything, she's going to be my new best friend. She doesn't know it yet. So before being told that we were doing this demo with 5 days.
Yeah, I sprung that on her last, 5 days ago, 4 days ago?
4.5 days, because Monday was a holiday. We worked. I was already reaching out. I had the pleasure of attending a couple meetings, the planning advisory meeting and the quarterly operations meeting. And mind you, I don't know the names of any of these reports. So when I'm trying to go back just to fill in some gaps and get a better understanding of what all of this means and in my mind, I'm going to prepare a file on our driver so that we can start, what publications have we put out? What contracts do we have associated? What regulatory items are coming up? And I know CalChoice handles most of that for us, but as CCAs, we still have to be aware of what's coming up and how we have to adapt for it. So just trying to wrap my mind around it from an organizational perspective. A lot of you did offer for me to reach out, and I know you offered. I reached again, Kathy Wells. And so I was starting to go through my list. Okay, who am I going to reach out to next? Who am I going to email? And then, in comes StrataGauge, and here's all these options. And it's like, okay, I'm going to completely redirect my focus on what can I gather so that we can provide a proper demo. And I'm telling you, this was days worth of work, 4.5 days. After seeing what could be done with the organizational aspect of it,
Keep in mind, she's working with me and Tom.
working with 25% of my time because I still have my normal job to do. So this is all happening and it's like, okay, my mind's already racing. I saw a blip of a demo from StrataGauge last week, I think it was, or the week before. And I start making my notes. It's like, okay, task manager. I know from our specific CCA, we have specific applications we want to gather so that equals connections. CalChoice Plus. See, I'm still learning. We have specific goals for those. And so not only are we setting the goals in there, but I'm really thrilled to see, okay, once we start setting those goals, what outreach are we doing? So now those become little subtasks. And not only on those subtasks are we going to identify what those specific outreach efforts are, but we're also going to be able to link whatever outreach or, flyers, emails, whatever it was that we created or StrataGauge created for us to send out to our constituents. That's all going to be available right there. And I'm just talking about projects at this specific time. There's obviously endless, I'm going to say endless, but yeah, it's pretty endless. And so all of that, it's specific to us, but also something we can share with other CCAs as you guys go through steps and processes in your own workflows and your own outreach. If you've already done it, we're coming up next, then hey, share that with us. And we're not having to go through the minutia of all of the email backlog because either, our Barracuda thought you were spam or the file was too big or whatever the case may be. And the worst is when 5 days go by and then I get an email saying, did you ever get my email? It's like, I got this one, not the last one. So now someone thinks I'm ignoring them, but besides the point. This is a fascinating product. It's going to be built for us, by us, from the ground up. And obviously there's a vision. Rob always has amazing visions. He's not about change for the sake of change. There's usually a need. And I'm telling you as a newbie, this would have been amazing to have. Just imagine one big house where we each have our own little rooms that we can decorate and do whatever we want in, and we can invite people in to see or send pictures or whatever, but we're all one. And I think that's where the big push is, where I'm not coming at you as a CCA expert because I'm on like month 1 right now, but I have led several implementation initiatives with the city successfully from the ground up. You get your research, what's needed, you talk to the different users, and you do your testing, implementation, training. User buy-in is insane, by the way. Without it, you're not going anywhere. But anyway, I'll stop there. I'll let Rob continue on unless you guys have any questions for me, and I'll be available to help once you guys implement this yourselves, some little SWOT. Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats.
Thanks,
Back to you,
Crystal.
thank
I think it's fascinating to bring somebody into a scenario where they have very limited information and immerse them into a place where now she is going to be leading our StrataGauge dashboard for San Jacinto Power and helping CalChoice with ours. So CalChoice staff has to provide information globally and then individually to each one of you because information is proprietary. And so this is going to be such a big help to then pushing information individually that nobody else should be seeing, right? But then allowing you all to come into the system and see that, I don't want to say generic information, but basic information that everybody gets. We can also have multiple different workspaces. I did this whole planned out chart, but think about a CalCCA area where we can have links to their green bags, where we can have information on, intro to CCA 101, those videos and things. Or, I hate to say this out loud, but I don't even know what Santa Barbara Clean Energy's carbon neutral plan is. But if you had it on the system and you allowed me to go in and read it, I wouldn't have to take up your time to try to figure out what it was, right? So think of those types of sharing opportunities that we have between CCAs as well. Vishal, any closing thoughts, ideas, aspirations, excitements?
Yeah, no, thank you so much for the opportunity to present. I think you guys encapsulated it really well. Like, I just want everyone to just leave with one thought, that this whiteboard is open for you. So any type of stuff that you are thinking that, hey, this takes my time off, why am I still spending an hour here a week? Our goal is to help you automate those, and there's no limit. And this is just gives you a little flavor of what these things are, what it can do, but there's no limit. And we want to build this for you and with you. So you tell me, Vishal, I am spending an hour on this thing this week and every week. Can you automate that? Give me 1 week and I'll automate the stuff for you. Your hour will be turned down to like 30 seconds. That's our goal.
And so thanks to San Jacinto Power for jumping in and creating this dashboard that we'll be sharing with CalChoice and staff. And we're going to meet as a staff team and figure out those things that all of you need to get into the dashboard to see readily at your fingertips. And then hopefully it'll just start, I don't want to say spiraling out of control, but it'll start spiraling to your individual workspaces where you're going to be creative on your own for your own CCA.
All right, thank you for the presentation. I'm looking forward to see that getting developed. Actually, we're looking for a similar platform to use at the City of Lancaster for our administrative office. So we're evaluating more than just a few, and this one's just been added to the list. I've already sent this. All right, so with that, I think we'll adjourn to closed session. Are we staying here, or is there another space?
I'm told there's another space for you, but for the record, the board will now recess to closed session pursuant to Government Code Section 54957B1, Public Employment, Title Chief Executive Officer, as stated on the agenda. And I'm told you're going to another room, and I have a separate Zoom that will be set up for you.
Got it. Okay, we'll see you there.
Director Carmona wanted to make sure you received that separate Zoom link, and if you didn't, I can get it to you.
Not yet.
Okay. I will make sure it gets over to you right away.
Steve, can you hear me? I sent an email invite for 1:30 today. With the link.
Do you have the closed sessions in?
I do. I
No.
Yes, Victor?
Did we send that for some
Victor, can you
reason?
hear me?
Oh, you trying to talk to me?
Oh, okay, yeah, you're right. I'm sorry.
All right, we re-adjourn and I will give the floor to the city attorney, I'm sorry, to our council to report out on closed session.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. So at this
Okay,
time, we
great.
re-adjourn and I turn it over to Allison to report out a closed session.
In closed session, the board took up the agenda item stated on the agenda, gave direction to staff and legal counsel, no reportable action.
All right. So with that, we are adjourned to the May meeting. And I don't have my document in front of me to tell me the date. Remind me of the date, May.
We are set for May the 19th, 2026.
May the 19th, 2026. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.